Okay, so let's dive right in. Let me go to like the Warcraft. Where's like the Warcraft 11.2? I need to figure out and like kind of categorize all the things I have to go through here today. Where is it from like their actual webpage? Start with the WoWcast. So they have a WoWcast for Ghost of Koresh. Okay, so let me get all the stuff that they announced. Let's just open up the old NodeEP. Okay, so we have 11.2 announcement and things we have to cover today. Okay, so we have class changes. We have tier sets. We have gear. Apparently people said there's like gear already like pretty mostly like sometimes when we get PTRs for patches, like the gear's like placeholders and shit. It sounds like most of that stuff is like pretty good to go. Mythic Plus stuff. Dungeon Journal for new raid. I'm not going to go over that yet. I'm going to go over that with my guild over the weekend and then I'll cover it on stream if anything. It takes too long to do that. Okay, so let's just go start with the WoWcast. Ghost of Koresh first look. I think this is it. Okay, very voidy, very Tazavesh-y. Well, that's kind of cool looking. Wait, it's like they've showed Tazavesh multiple times. So I'm assuming that's like back in the Mythic Plus pool. Those are good. I mean, both Tazavesh dungeons are Astro bangers, right? Gambit
Hello,
slightly more so.
Welcome to WoWcast. Today we're going to talk about the next major content update, Ghosts of Koresh. To help us uncover what's in store, I'm joined by two developers who helped bring Koresh to life. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Drew D'Souza, and I'm a lead encounter designer.
I'm Steph Yoon. I'm an associate lead quest designer, and I was also the point on this content.
First things first,
Oh, shit.
what is Koresh and why now?
Those
So
are not
Koresh
usually
isn't
things that I
a
care
new
about.
term to us. You know, way back in Burning Crusade.
Is there
we
part of
first
this I
heard
can
them
skip
when
about
we
the
met
lore?
the
I mean, I guess we could
Ethereals
look
in
at the zone.
Netherstorm. And
Whatever.
you know, they told us tales of Koresh, a beautiful area.
Didn't someone say, wasn't one of the leaks, or not leaks, we were talking about it on stream Monday before I left, and they said that this patch has to be ethereal based, and they just mentioned like a bunch of different things leading up to this that would make that be the case. It didn't, I mean, they either came up with it themselves or there's like some thing that a lot of people believe that would make that be, but they were right.
For the Ethereals until Dimensius the All-Devouring came and consumed their world soul. So we helped the Ethereals get revenge in Netherstorm, and we
That's a
thought
big
the
boy.
matter was finished. And for the first time here in Ghost of Koresh, we'll be stepping foot on what's remaining of that planet, this shattered, void-touched land, because we've heard that evil forces are trying to resurrect Dimensius the All-Devouring, and if that happens, the Ethereals are toast, and then Azeroth will be next.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too good for us. So, who's going to help
Shout out Linksy, by the way. Linksy, absolute goat.
us try to stop Dimensius?
You know, with a threat like this, it's all hands on deck. Within the last major content update, Illyria sort of took a step back and undermined. But she'll be here front and center with her old mentor, Locust Walker, as he brings us to his old home
Turn it up a little
planet. And the eager players among us will have already gone through the content in Legacy of Aerthor, where there is a
Yeah.
feature called Lore Walking.
I've done that.
Which gives hints to sort of the content that's coming up here in Ghost of Koresh. In there, we learned that Venari and the brokers are interested in helping. Not only that, they've brought their entire city, Tazavesh, the Veiled Market, from the Shadowlands and placed it here right in Koresh. So we'll be able to use that as a home base. We're going to gather as much help as we can so that we can face Dimensius in the raid Manaforge Omega.
I'm excited to see Venari.
The
I know a lot of
raid
other
is
people are
called
excited to
And so that we can face
Manaforge Omega, and the last boss's name is Dimensius. I saw a Twitter picture. It was just some random shit post saying something about how big this guy was, and they posted this big ethereal and that, or this big like void lord, and that sounds like who that probably is. Massive model, by the way. Like, it looked like maybe the biggest boss we would have to fight. I don't even know how we're gonna fight that boss. Like, how do you fight something so large, you know? Either way, I mean, like, obviously they'll find a way to figure it out, but you know, I guess we're just gonna like fight his toes. Manaforge Omega, is that a good raid name? No, I mean, they're kind of opening themselves up. I don't know if this matters at all, but if the raid like sucks, people would refer to it as like something Omega lol. But that's like so degenerate Twitch brained that like they probably never thought of that / it just doesn't matter.
Dimensius in the raid Manaforge Omega.
I'm excited to see Venari. I know a lot of other people are too. You mentioned the raid. Can you tell us more about that, Drew?
Absolutely, there's a lot to talk about.
Okay.
So our raid in Ghost of Koresh is Mana Forge Omega. It's a giant facility.
Okay, giant facility that's been built up on the planet to harness cosmic energy. Okay, it looks
That's been
not
built up
too
on the
big.
planet to harvest cosmic
Big doesn't really matter
energy.
though. Yo, give me more than 8
We're going to
bosses.
be fighting our way
Give me
in
10
and through
bosses.
it
That's
to
the
take
number.
on Shadowguard's Ethereals, who are trying to revive Dimensius. While we're in there, we'll face down with an army of Ethereals still being wrapped, the creature they're harvesting silk from. And
It's
even
8 bosses. Is it really? Try 7? Man. Okay, well, this when I was at Blizzard, and this is all under NDA, so I'm not saying any of this, but I asked someone or multiple people a question about how many bosses do you think there should be ideally in a raid, and the number was higher than 8, and I was like, so true, and we agreed on why, and now there's 7. I mean,
The
obviously
mysterious
this was made a long time ago, but
Council of Demon Hunters that had found their way onto Koresh. Oh, and of course, it's going to end with a cosmic level battle with Dimensius, who is the biggest raid boss we've ever made.
How big are we talking?
Like, battle with Dimensius, who is the biggest raid
that boy is big. That room is big. Holy shit. Okay.
boss we've ever made.
How big are we talking?
Like, City of Stormwind sized?
What?
What? Okay, well, like, okay, this is where you kind of lose me. Like, okay, maybe we'll. I mean, we're not like being Dobby right now, but is it possible that like a boss is so big that it's hard to make like good? I just most bosses with massive spaces that you actually traverse, that just doesn't seem to be like a great part of the fight. But like maybe they could like Dragon Ride or some
Boss
shit.
we've ever made.
How big are we
That'd be
talking?
kind of cool.
Like, City of Stormwind sized?
What?
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of boss mechanics in the raid?
One that I think is really cool is actually our intro. Like I mentioned, this is a giant like mana intake facility, and we're actually going to come in through the pipe where they've taken the mana. We're actually going to utilize a artifact cloak we're introducing in Ghost of Koresh.
An artifact
the
cloak.
route, to turn ourselves into energy and trick the filtration system. So our first boss encounter is against a warden that's overlooking these pipes. And
Pipe
we're going to
Lord.
need to go in and out of energy forms.
Pipe
to
Lord
survive.
Vesuvius.
I'm excited for my druid to have another artifact. So let's break down Reshi Wraps. What's the fancy?
So wait, so we have like but does artifact mean like legendary? Like basically we're gonna have like legendary mob cloaks?
behind him?
Or is it, I mean, I guess the only other thing referred to as artifact was artifact weapons or artifact power.
We wanted to give the players an upgradable artifact that had a visible
Or the-
component for
or the
trans
cloak-
mods, of
or
course,
the
'cause that's
necklace,
true
right?
In Game of WoW, but didn't interfere with any tier sets.
It's like Rathian
so
cloak?
the Reshi Wraps are an artifact cloak that helps us turn our bodies from corporeal into an energy form.
That's kinda
You know,
sick.
A very powerful person within the campaign helps us gather these ethereal artifacts and coalesces them into the Reshi
Bro,
Wraps.
it actually just dawned on me that like I've watched a million of these WoWcasts, and it just dawned on me that I was actually in one of these. Like I probably the same people filming this like filmed Drados and I doing it. That's kind of cool. Even though no one listened to it. It was just too long. Because like I know when they announced all that stuff, we asked Ian like a million questions about how he would do all this. And then do you guys remember when they released that like here's what we're planning on doing for add-ons for the next 2 years? And then everyone had a take about it out of nowhere like weeks after this interview actually happened. Like it got data mined, or they posted like here's what we're planning. They basically posted a follow-up that discussed nothing that we didn't talk about in that interview with Ian. But then everyone had the takes once it was posted later, right? So no one fucking watched it. It was like the Preach video thing where like people just saw the title of it and then didn't listen to it.
Gather these
I'm mad. Basically, I'm mad. That's what I'm saying.
ethereal artifacts and coalesces them into the Reshi Wraps. And it turns our bodies into energy form and basically allows us to see the world through the ethereal's eyes. With this, we'll be able to interface with an outdoor activity called phase diving, which allows us to enter untethered
Max, thanks for talking to us like this is your first learning of this. It is. I'll keep it a buck. Like I kind of intentionally didn't look at all of it, but I was also very busy when I was away. And then I could have looked at it on the plane on the way here today, and I just decided that I wanted to just react to it natty. Think it would be better content, and also no, basically that it would just be better content. I mean, I'm looking over the bosses this weekend anyway. But I was like spoiled on a few things. Obviously, it's been a few days. Like I don't know about what they gave DKs, but I heard like they are addressing their raid buff situation, which obviously we'll get into in a little bit.
Base, which is an entirely different way to look at Koresh. It's an overlay that introduces new creatures, new objectives, new world quests, new mechanics. And the cool thing about the Reshi wraps, it sort of interfaces with so much content across Ghost of Koresh. You can use it in the open world, you can use it in the dungeon, you can use it in the raid, and in delves as well.
Seeing the world in the eyes of ethereal sounds really, really cool. You mentioned delves. What is the new delve coming to Ghost of Koresh?
So we have a new delve coming in Ghost of Koresh, and this is called the Archival Assault. It takes place in the Azure Vaults and Dragon Isles. You might be familiar with that place, but this time it's chock full of ethereals, ethereal pirates, some brokers, and they're plundering the place, and we're going to put a stop to that with our buddy Bran. You'll be able to take advantage of your Reshi wrap to unlock unique challenge gateways. They might have boss rushes or unique...
Okay, thought. They keep doing this. Why did I announce that I had a thought? Ever since MoP, I mean, even before, where like they give everyone this big thing that like everyone has, like I guess like the BFA cloaks, and it like has a different color. Does that like bring people back to the game? It must. Like this one thing. Artifact weapons are a little different. I think those are like way more thematic and cool, but like just the idea that this patch, everyone has a legendary pair of bracers or something, like is that they keep doing it, so that makes me think that they have some kind of information that like people really fuck with that, or maybe they do. Maybe your all's opinion would be
challenge
every time I've done that, it's really cool.
Additionally, we're doing a little bit of a social feature in here where
it's also, I mean, I'm down with it. Like I said, it is right along the lines of what I've been asking for. Like Dratnos and I have been on this pretty heavy on the podcast for like a year now, which is we were okay with going away from the borrowed power expansions as what defined the expansion, but like especially near the end of these patches and the end of these expansions, a little bit of borrowed power is a little fun, Like borrowed power wasn't all bad. Borrowed power at the end of BFA like kind of defined that being one of the best times to ever play WoW. Like there's some good. It's about eliminating the bad parts of it, which we've talked about a million times. I'm not going to rehash all of that, but they're kind of doing that. They've been doing that at the end of patches. Not that they've done that particularly well this patch, even to Blizzard Zone and Mission. But in the last patch of the expansion,
you'll be able to see your friend's presence. They might be able to leave you messages. You see their ghost running around where they died, maybe.
Yep. So I can make fun of my friend dying in a certain place.
And speaking of dying, let's talk about our nemesis for this season.
Okay.
You might be familiar with her.
Your audience severely underrepresents role players. I mean, yeah, probably, right? Are you saying like my audience in general is going to skew away from being a role player? That is unassailably true. I don't know, why did you say that though?
Her name is Nexus Princess Kaiveza. You have unfinished business with her in Erebar. She's got a whole new bag of tricks for you.
Like,
she's
is
not
that
gonna
like
hold back this time, and it's a 1v1 scenario. So
you stated an absolute
That's so
fact.
exciting. I loved her fight
whoa.
in Erebar Palace.
Whoa.
And so
she's got a whole new bag. Her name is Nexus Princess Kaiveza.
Wait, so like the solo boss, the Giga Delve or whatever solo fight is going to be against Nerebar?
Business with her in Nerebar. She's got a
yeah, there's some cooking to be done there.
She's not going to hold back this time, and it's a 1v1 scenario, so buckle up.
That's so exciting. I loved her fight in Nerebar Palace, and so I was always wondering where she vanished off to.
Everyone should love Nerebar. I feel like everyone who fought Nexus Princess Kaiveza is like, damn, this boss was a banger, except for anyone that had to one tank it. Is my
actually
take.
Defeat her.
Which is not a lot of people,
back to
but
the outdoor world.
If you were forced to do that, it ruined
on
it.
Koresh?
Yeah, there's two major systems. The first one is called ecological succession. When we met the ethereals for the first time.
Question, super random. Has that really happened before, where there was a boss that absolutely sucked in the Race to World First, but was really, really good for everyone else? That's really, really, really rare, right? It's usually the other way around. There are bosses that are amazing in the race that suck for everyone. Like the Lihivum boss in Sepulchre, banger. Skarn was really good, right, for the race, but really, really bad for everyone else. But the inverse of this boss stinks for the race, but everyone else loves it. That's really rare. Can you guys think of any bosses that even fit that description besides Kaiveza? Gallywix? Oh, that might... Yeah, Gallywix for a totally different reason, but yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like, most people are probably happy with Gallywix kind of falling over real easy style, you know? But, like, for the race, it was, like, anticlimactic. That's, like, for a different reason, though. It was more of, like, a viewer. Actually, no, as a player, it also wasn't. Okay. I don't know.
In Netherstorm, the two things that I noticed were their energy forms and...
Wait, what is it? 100% the final boss in Castle Nathriate was a banger boss for all of us, but seeing you guys do Race World first was kind of lame. Huh? Bro, Denathrius was a banger race fight.
Really
We had a lot of
cool
fun.
ecodomes, right? These systems that allowed them to create biomes inside that didn't match what was outside. And here, basically, you'll be helping run one. Venari is trying to bring life back to those shredded parts of Koresh. And with that, she needs your help to
Donnie
fill it
2Ds.
with animals
Yep, he
and
had 2
creatures
decks.
that really thrive in the Koresh ecosystem.
A lot of people forget that.
What this means is that she'll ask you to go back to previous zones, get animals, and experiment and see if they can survive in the Koresh ecosystem, and then release them to create a thriving ecology. Think of it as like a void Jurassic Park, where you're just sort of like trying to make sure that this beautiful place can thrive. The other feature I want to talk about is phase diving. I already mentioned it a little bit when I was talking about the Reshi Wraps, but it's basically an overlay across all of Koresh, where you get to switch to energy form and enter untethered space to access a whole slew of new content.
Kind of like entering the... Wasn't it like the 11.0.7 island where you got the ring, but like you could make it rain and it like went hard mode, but it was like a different version of the same map? Is that like kind of the same idea here?
You can expect to see anything that you normally see in the outdoors, you know, treasures, rares, lore objects, all that. But there's also things that are unique specifically to phase diving. One of the features that I can talk about here is called Warrants, where you're going to be helping
It's
the
Korthia
Constable
again?
of Taz.
That's very loaded. That's a tough comparison. Because like basically it could be structured like Korthia and not be bad, but then people will just hear the word Korthia and be like, oh, so that means it'll be terrible then, because they associate the word. I mean, dude, Korthia, I actually don't even know how bad Korthia was. Was Korthia, because like when people mention Korthia, it was just in the patch where no one was playing this game. All the lawsuits happened, people were playing Final Fantasy 14, Domination Shards, Sanctum of Domination, you know? It was... But like, was Korthia actually bad, or was it just like, was it just surrounded by
I'm
bad?
looking forward to also building my own ecosystem. That sounds so cool. Anything with animals, you got me sold. Earlier we spoke about the new raid. What else is coming to season 3?
Oh, there's a lot to talk about here. So first off, we have a new dungeon coming with
Dude!
Koresh. It's called...
Fuck yeah. I mean, we figured they were going to do this, right? Because like normally in season 3, the mega dungeon would have come out already, and then like now it's in the Mythic Plus pool. That's been their system for a while, right? But when they did a dungeon earlier this expansion, which we've been asking for years, you know, like making new in-expansion dungeons fresh is sick. And I don't know what the community perception of it is, but I actually loved the Operation Floodgate they did in, is it current season or last season? Like that was really, really fun. The few times I did that seemed really good. So they've proven that they're proficient at it. So if you're not, the thing is though, is if you're not going to do a mega dungeon, you at the very least have to make a new dungeon like every season. I think like it's required that you do that, because like you're already reducing so much work. The mega dungeon is probably, where the mega dungeon is actually significantly more work than just making 2 individual dungeons, right? I think it's obviously bigger in size. Maybe it's not, because technically like what takes a lot of time is the aesthetic and art for this stuff. Like that's the really time sensitive stuff, and like maybe making 2 things separately is harder than one giant thing. I'm not sure.
Ecodome Eldani. It's very important to the Ethereals. It's a 3-boss dungeon. We're going to be fighting through Devourers, invading one of these places, eating some of the wildlife Steph talked about earlier. That's bad. We're also going to be fighting off a force of Wastelanders that have taken over this place. We're going to fight our way through and figure out why they want this place. One more note with this dungeon is it'll be immediately available on normal, heroic, and baseline mythic with the update on Ghost of Koresh.
Wait, so does that mean they're doing Mythic Zeros like immediately, like before the season starts?
Immediately available on normal.
Mythic Zeros week 1. That's nice. I mean, it really felt like in that first week there wasn't enough to do. And I know that that's on purpose. Like they specifically don't want, like think about the scenario where they release the season. So like uncapped Mythic Plus, normal, heroic, and Mythic Raid and like all the campaign chapters and stuff, they don't want people feeling like they can't interact with the story of the game because they have to immediately get on the hamster wheel and start grinding away, you know? Like, so it's very intentional that the week 1 is boring for people who like grind the shit out of the game, right? But it felt, I mean, at least we talked about it on the podcast a lot, where like it felt like it was too little. Like there's just actually like people are excited to play and there just isn't anything to do. Just like give them a little carrot on the stick, you know? Beginning of Dragonflight with digging dirt and farming those shitty rares for gear that you would instantly replace kind of showed that like when people really want to just play a game, they're going to want to do that. So like just give them the option to. So I think that's good. If it's still weekly lockout, I mean weekly lockout is still like still so much better.
On Ghost of Crash.
I think the really cool thing about Icodome Aldani too is that the canonical route that the storyline takes place is the campaign, the raid, and then Icodome Aldani. And that's not a thing that we do often, you know. So I'm really looking forward to
the canonical route that the storyline takes place is the campaign, the raid. So the entire main story involves the raid, the dungeon, and obviously the campaign. Isn't
the campaign, the raid, and then Icodome Aldani. And that's not a thing that we do often.
Okay, I probably shouldn't have stopped here because I'm totally out of my depth even talking about whatever she's talking about right now at all. But doesn't the story? Oh, it ends with the dungeon instead of the raid. Oh, I see. So she was talking. She said canonically, but I didn't get it was like in that order. Okay. The dungeon's the last part of the story.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how people
Isn't that weird that the dungeon's going to come out before the raid, though?
to this cadence.
So what are the dungeons in the dungeon pool?
Oh yeah, let's dive into that as well. Let's talk about the returning ones first.
Okay.
So we're going to head back to
Halls of Atonement, banger. Interesting to see what kind of changes they would make to this. Okay, random thought, but I think if Halls of Atonement would have came back 2 seasons ago, like beginning of this expansion, I think people would have hated it because they would have buffed it and made all these... Basically, at the beginning of this expansion, they were like so anti-mass pulling. They just made mobs do everything. Obviously, we've talked about this a bunch. And if they brought Halls of Atonement back, they would have like absolutely ruined it. But now, since last season, especially last season, like all the rhetoric from them was like, we get it. We hear you. Like, I know you guys have been saying it for a long time, but we get it. And then they made the dungeon pool, from what I can tell, a lot more forgiving in that way. So I think we're getting Halls of Atonement, which is good, but we're also getting it at the right time.
Revendreth and visit our friends the Venthyr in the Halls of Atonement. The next two, like Steph mentioned, Tazvesh is...
I mean, I've never been a huge fan of streets, but Dratnos is a big fan of streets, and I think Dratnos is really smart. Gambit is one of the best all-time Mythic Plus dungeons. It's like top... It's literally number 1 for me, but it is... like almost anyone you talk about, it's top 3
coming back.
So that's goated.
Said Tazvesh should come back.
Of course.
So 3 of 8 right now own.
First introduced.
And we're getting the new dungeon, right? So 4 of them are new dungeon, which I'm just gonna let's just say it's as good as Floodgate, which I think was great. We have 4 really good dungeons so far.
Of course.
That's a big stretch, isn't it?
We're going to have Tazvesh
because this one dungeon they made was good. That means this one will be good.
Chasing down Solia, and then we'll have the second half, which is Solia's Gambit, where we're chasing through portals and eventually having our final showdown. Tazvesh will also be returning as a mega dungeon experience in Ghost of Crash.
Oh, just like reusing them. Well, that's fine. Okay, so that's how they're replacing the Mega Dungeon in this expansion.
You'll be able to play it in hard mode as the baseline mythic difficulty. It'll have increased challenges, hard mode mechanics, and really awesome rewards. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh,
I also think having a Mega Dungeon experience at the beginning of a patch is way cooler than a middle of the patch experience.
we also have...
Because like it doesn't scale fast enough. Like you do it as hard mode week 1, and it's like kind of cool. And then it just becomes this thing you're farming that isn't that fun for a while. And then you have to wait months, and then it's a Mythic Plus dungeon. And now it's going to be hard mode Mega Dungeon into Mythic Plus right away. And I think that cadence is way better.
4. What were the winners?
Yeah, it was really cool to see what players' favorite dungeons were in the War Within. And the 4 that players chose were Operation Floodgate from Season 2.
Okay, wait. So he said... Okay, so that poll of what players' favorite dungeons was actually relevant.
War Within, and the 4 that players chose were Operation Floodgate from Season 2, going back to punch some goblins, Priory of the Sacred Flame, just awesome Hollowfall vibes throughout, and then we're going to round that out.
I don't know if people actually liked... Okay, it's hard to tell because like I haven't been paying attention for a while, but I know Priory was really overtuned initially, and a lot of people do dungeons and then quit the season. and they just never have their opinion change after that. Oh, that's so interesting. You're saying that all the things that they've chosen were just dungeons with great trinkets in it. I mean, I don't think that's too off base. Like, think about it. What are one of Mythic Pluser's biggest gripes, right? It is, I have to raid, and specifically after last patch, I have to raid deep into the raid on Mythic to get the best gear to do the content I like doing. If you're like a pure Mythic Pluser. So if you're a Mythic Plus Andy, you voting in your own best interest, yeah, you want a good dungeon, but don't you also like really want to make sure you don't have to raid to get the best shit? Or if you don't want to raid, you get as close as possible to the best shit. So voting for trinket dungeons actually makes sense. I mean, people vote for that for all kinds of reasons. Like, remember Mauve Souls? Like, everyone, if you had like a Legion dungeon, like, which one would you vote to come back? Mauve Souls would be like #1 or way up there on the list. And that's purely based on people farming it on like the extreme lowest difficulty for artifact power, and it wasn't about the actual dungeon at all, right? Like, people are going to vote based on their experience with the dungeon. If the experience was like you did it a lot to where you actually got to understand it because you were farming it for a trinket, you'll usually like those things more.
Fall vibes through.
I don't think it's weird. Is it surprising at least that it turned out that way? But okay, what were the other dungeons they picked? Because let's try to discern if any of them were actually bad.
With 2 dungeons from Season 1 of The War Within, Arakara, City of Echoes, and the Dawnbreaker. Just quick.
I did not do a ton of Mythic Plus, but I enjoyed Arakara, Dawnbreaker, and Priory. Also, aesthetically, I think at least Dawnbreaker and Priory go crazy. And I would love to see, we'll never know the answer to this, but these polls that they looked at, I wonder the amount of people who voted on this. I wonder if I could see like a pie chart of what percentage of voters were like people who did these dungeons a couple of times and voted purely off vibes, like aesthetic and vibes, versus how many people were like, you know, did a little bit of Mythic Plus versus people that like were just absolute turbo degenerate Mythic Plusers, right? Which, I mean, there's also just a generally few amount of those players in total, but like I wonder if they overrepresented the voting, right? I don't think that data exists. Oh yeah, the data will never exist. I'm just I would be interested in knowing what that is. Like, but because I don't know that information, it kind of makes any result of voting make sense to me, because all of those people could like dungeons for totally different reasons. You know, like someone who doesn't really care about doing high keys or really dungeons at all can like go into the Dawnbreaker one time and be like, yo, this was sick. Or go into Priory and be like, I am transported by being here into a different place and I love the way this looks and feels. And maybe people who think like that, which are always underrepresented when we're talking about things, like vastly overrepresent the polling, you know? Who knows? I don't know. So because of that, it's kind of hard to say how voting goes exactly. Plus, even within the dungeon community, it's kind of hard, outside of a few universal bangers, it's kind of hard for people to agree on even what the best dungeons are. Like, people are just like, dude, don't vote for trinkets, vote for what the best dungeons are. But like, I think that's super subjective. Even within like high key players, honestly, like you hear takes like that all the time.
Note for the Season 1 dungeons, we are going to take a pass, you know, on the visuals, the combat pacing, the cast times, the number of abilities even, to make sure they're aligned with Season 2 dungeons.
Are there any?
That's a really important thing. Also, that's important for Halls of Atonement and the Tazavesh dungeons coming back. That, yeah, I mean, it would make sense that the dungeons being brought back are going to be aligned with their new philosophy. You could have just said our philosophy on dungeons isn't changing, which would also be fine.
Any other important notes for players to know about for Season 3?
Actually, not directly Season 3 related, but on the day of the update for Ghost of Koresh, you're going to have access to non-bountiful delves and all Season 3 dungeons for heroic and mythic, baseline mythic difficulties.
Okay.
That means there will be
What about the mega dungeon?
there, but also Season 3 rewards. You can get yourself a head start. Of course, Mythic Plus.
I think that's really good. I don't know if it's exactly what we need to make that week feel better, but at a very base level, I know that that week is going to be significantly better for having the Mythic Zeros. It's also going to be, I just thought about this, going to be way better for splits. Super selfish, unrelatable, none of you care about this. But yeah, that's something that I'm thinking about. That's good. I actually think for the race, that might be bad, because then like people need to do Mythic Zero clears on like every single guy, which sounds crazy. Where like me, I only play like 1 or 2 characters week 1. Doing a round of Mythic Zero sounds like a nice, fun gameplay experience, which is probably closer to the average WoW player experience, right?
And the raid will open the following week.
But my players are going to be in hell.
Plenty to sink your teeth into on day 1. And oh yeah, one more thing. We've heard feedback for a long time now about how dungeon checkpointing works, especially in like Mythic Keystones where your timer's ticking down and whatnot. We're going to revisit our philosophy there on how long these
Oh,
back
yeah.
is and when they unlock, and we actually want to visualize some of this in game through what we're calling waystones. So as you unlock checkpoints,
That's so, I mean, this has been so talked about that it hasn't even been talked about a lot recently, because it's one of those things, kind of like global release. Remember how like 5 years ago no one could mention anything about the race without talking about global release, but now people have just kind of assumed that Blizzard's just never going to change it, / they've already like kind of said that. So you just simply stopped hearing about it, even though it's a big problem and everyone hates it, right? The dungeon checkpointing thing was like, yeah, it was just like beating a dead horse. Like everyone just kept saying that this was a problem because it was, to where people actually, like, I don't remember the last time that I actually had a conversation about dungeon checkpoints, even though it is objectively one of the worst things in Mythic. Like, anytime you get a bad one, you're just like, anytime you have to think about whether you can release, which is kind of all the time, that sucks, you know? Very, very
have
good.
an icon on your map, and you'll also have these stones that warp in and show you if I release,
And
this is
the
where I'm coming back.
clear
I
visual
don't want people
communication
asking
is
that
nice.
question anymore.
That is so exciting because I can't remember for the life of me every checkpoint in
This guy Drew is the lead Mythic Plus guy, right? I actually don't know him at all.
And what about class sets?
Yeah, there's new set bonuses to talk about as well. And Mana Forge
Okay.
Omega, we're
Ooh,
trying to
wait. Anything cook here? That just kind of looks like all of them. Are these all like kind of mid looking? None of them really pop to me.
something different with the set bonuses. Up until now, they've been focused on your spec or your class. With this update, we're actually going to target your hero talents.
I knew they were going to... Dude, we thought they were going to do this at the beginning of the expansion, right? They've always made 39 tier sets, right? Or 38, however many specs there are in the game. And if they were to do it for every hero talent in the game, you'd end up with, I believe, the same amount of hero talents as there are specs. So you could make them hero talent based, but it would be like kind of hard to... It's a big swing. I know people were scared about it before. I obviously haven't looked at them yet. And last patch, they also did something interesting where they were like, I wonder if last patch was like a test for this, where they gave a bunch of classes similar concepts, and then that like kind of worked in its own way.
So in my case, I play an Arms Warrior, I play Colossus. I'll have bonuses targeting Demolish, but I'll still have spec hooks if I'm like a Prot Warrior versus an Arms Warrior to make sure that they're still competitive. We got you on the spec level, but we're targeting hero talents.
Oh, that sounds
Oh, they're doing both. Interesting. I'm
cool.
going to have to read
Yeah,
those.
and players can look forward to a lot of class updates as well. You know, a lot of talent updates for specs such as Brewmaster Monks and Unholy Death Knights.
Wait, say that again?
Now, along with
Hold up. Players can look forward to a lot of class updates as well.
Monks and Unholy
For
Death
specs such as
Knights.
Brewmaster Monks and Unholy DKs. So wait, Unholy DKs are getting like a rework? And Brewmaster Monks are... I actually didn't know Unholy DKs were getting a rework. I mean, I know they were... apparently they were doing the AMZ shit, right? It's Unholy and Frost. Why do they specifically say Unholy? Frost got bigger than Unholy. Patch notes for DK looks like a dissertation. That's gonna be fun. I mean, I love DK. Maybe it's a fucking bone patch. I'm down for that. I haven't played Brewmaster in forever, but I think Brewmaster is probably in need of a rework. A lot of people love playing Brewmaster, but it's just... I think the fact that like a lot of people complain about the buttons and like the clunkiness and stuff, I think it probably could just use a look.
Now, along with Season 3's PvE content, there's also a new PvP season. There are several PvP talents that are being updated as well. And for those of us who like outdoor
Tell me about the
world
DK
PvP,
stuff, though.
There is an entire island called Vanquisher's Wake.
I'll be avoiding that.
And I'll be there.
Yeah.
Of course you would.
So rehearsed.
Before we wrap up, what are you both most excited for in this update?
For me, I'd have to say it's Dimensius. That's going to be a cosmic level encounter. There's planets blowing up. It's awesome.
Wait, what?
Huge laser beams, you name it.
Yo.
Additionally, I think we have a really awesome dungeon pool this season. I'm excited for players to check out Tazavesh Hard Mode.
I am also
Are
really
you
excited
changing
about Dimensius,
Tazavesh hard mode?
Such a glow up from the blueberry that he was before.
Baby blueberry.
But the thing that I'm most excited about, we're in the War Within, and the War Within is part of the World Soul Saga, a trilogy of expansions that, you know, like interweave their story all throughout. And so the campaign and the story within Ghosts of Koresh will matter so much more to the next expansion than it has ever done before. I'm really looking forward to seeing how players go through the campaign and absorb the story.
I'm excited for everything you guys mentioned.
Okay, this is it, right? We're chilling? Okay. All right. Fuck. Where do we begin? Let's do class changes, then tier sets. That sound good? I mean, I've made the decision. We're doing it. All right, here we go. New talent, Unholy Momentum. Well, this is the first thing mentioned. It just says increases haste by 2%. That has to be a raid haste buff, right? I think. Is that why they're... No? That's such a bait. Why would they go into this whole, like, this clear, long thing about raid compositions? I'm, like, seeing those words. See AMZ, see Death Grip. And then why did they lead with this? It just looks like a raid buff. All right, man. Well, if they're looking at the DK raid buff, all right, let's just look at it. We've talked about this 100 times. I have directly asked them about DKs not having a suitable raid buff at least 3 times to their face in interviews. Let's see what they did. In Ghost of Koresh, we are looking at Death Knight's raid utility to help give them a better identity that isn't completely reliant on tuning to make an impact. That is true. They were completely reliant on tuning, which the reason they didn't get this earlier is because they were frequently tuned really well. Like, I know one rebuttal they had for a while was like, you're bringing a DK to every end boss. And like basically for like years of interviews, and they were right every time, but it was purely based on tuning. So they get that. Okay. One immediate change, as you may notice, is that A-bomb limb has been removed. Okay. I heard that. I'm interested in that because Abomination's limb was obviously really good, but it also was kind of the only way that DK DPS was brought instead of DK tank. Because like DK tank has like shorter single grips and they have mass grip. But a lot of times A-bomb limb was so good that you didn't care about the other stuff. You just needed a single A-bombs limb at this time in the fight to make this work. Or you needed an A-bomb limb and an A-bomb limb here and an A-bomb limb there. And then mass grip didn't matter. Single grips, way less important. But A-bomb limb is what you needed. But because of that, A-bomb limb is so powerful that it's like, I don't know. I think this, okay, let's see. Its existence made it incredibly hard to grip no matter, it made it incredibly hard for grip to matter in any real capacity because of how potent and easily accessible it became. Do they mean the singular death grip? But Abomination Limb is that. I see what they mean. So they want single grip to be the reason you're bringing a Death Knight to a raid fight. And A-Bomb Limb was so good that it devalued single grip. I think you're looking at that the wrong way. When we're looking at bringing a class to a fight, you know, like a lot of people are just going to do what we do. So I'll give you our line of thinking. It's about how you get the grips you need with the least amount of DKs. And like A-Bombs Limb is always the answer to that. So like when you're looking at like needing grips for a raid fight, you're looking at bringing an A-Bombs Limb. So even if you make it, I don't know, you're still making DKs weaker compared to other classes by the removal of this as well, though. Unless you just change the way grips work fundamentally. Or if you make it to where literally only single grip works on them. Which, I mean, well, okay. They can't really do that. They're just going to remove. Okay, let's see. This led to too many raid mobs being immune to grip. Oh, okay. So they're saying, like, because of A-Bomb Limb's existence, we had to make mobs immune to grip. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to do this right now, but it'd be very interesting to just at least go through the last, like, couple years of raid bosses and look at ads that would want to be gripped but couldn't be because of this line of thinking that I haven't really thought of before, that they've been doing that, specifically because of A-Bombs Limb. Like, obviously, like, One-Arm Bandit this tier, maybe more significantly. Okay? But that A-Bomb Limb wouldn't be the reason specifically you would do that. I mean, one DK DPS or tank could easily single grip them all on top of each other every set. You would just grip the left and right one to the middle. So that wouldn't make... anyways, we'll look into this a little bit later. As what should normally be one of Death Knight's most powerful tools. This change limits the number of death grips available to a raid at any moment and allows us to design more moments for death grip to be tactical and powerful when Death Knights choose to use it. This change should be immediately apparent in the new raid Mana Forge Omega. I don't know if I'm exactly following this. I'll read what they're going to do here. I see AMZ a lot here. But okay, so they made a change recently to a class, Shamans, where they gave them a very, very good raid buff, actually. Because while, yes, you were bringing a Shaman to every raid, it was only one spec. Are they not doing the same thing with Death Knight tanks here? Maybe one of the issues with that was AMZ, like Death Knight tanks AMZ was stronger than DPSs for no reason, and maybe they're addressing that here. But isn't this, if you're making single grip more important, are they changing anything? Guys, you guys have read all the notes, I'm assuming. It's been 2 days. Are they making it to where tank DKs don't have almost double the amount of single grips as DPS DKs do? And just tell me no, they're not changing that, then what does this change? Like, you're just, okay, you're gonna want DKs in raid comps now. Okay, cool, but it's just gonna be blood. If you're going to make single grip specifically really impactful, like they said, blood DK is going to be infinitely better than DPS DK. Obviously, none of this is based on tuning. Maybe DPS DK is like the best class in the game and you bring 3 of them or something, but like that could happen to any class, right? Purely based on what you bring to a raid, a blood DK brings significantly more than DPS. In fact, the removal of Abomination Limb actually makes that worse. Like, A-Bomb Limb was the equalizer. It was the best gripping tool, which they recognized here. But because of that, it actually was the thing kind of making the single grip difference and the mass grip difference not matter, because usually the solution in our guild when you needed to grip things was, you need A-Bomb's Limb, and when do you need A-Bomb's Limb? It wasn't ever mass grip, right? So this okay, maybe they'll make it to where you want things to grip more, and maybe DK's getting raids not based on tuning. Sure, I'm just saying that the gap between why you'd want to bring a DK, it being a tank versus a DPS, in my opinion, from this has actually gotten wider, which is a problem. Anyways. Okay, secondly, plenty of time has passed since Castle Nathria, and it's given us some time to reflect on our change to capping anti-magic zone. Their change, chat, just reminding you. In Ghost of Crash, we are returning AMZ to a percentage magic damage reduction effect with no cap. No cap. Okay. Obviously, they're going to have to nerf it. Like, because the reason so, while I never advocated it for it to be an absorb, or how they changed it, it did need to be nerfed from what it was before. Hopefully unbiased or maybe even biased people understand that literally any class in the game that is a DPS or a tank, not a healer, basically, having a 2-minute cooldown, 20% DR is absurdly broken. It's just way stronger than every other utility in the game. Why does that exist? It has to be nerfed in some way. They didn't nerf it in the right way, but we never really came up with an example of how they could have nerfed it where it wouldn't have been worse. Like, I've always thought like having it be basically the same thing, but a 3-minute cooldown or a 4-minute cooldown would make sense. But I don't know. We've increased the cooldown and reduced the duration and effectiveness downward. Oh, and okay, what it was prior to Castle Nathria nerf, which should better align with our expected output for a DPS tank and damage reduction cooldown. We hope that by adding this, how much is it? 6 seconds down from, was it 8 or 10? Reducing the magic damage taken by party or raid members by 15% down from 20 in a 4-minute cooldown. Okay, steep nerf. This will still end up being, this will definitely be better in a raid environment than it was before. So this is a slight buff to AMZ in my opinion. Even at 15%, I mean, with the damage cap, AMZs on any real mythic raid fight with the raid in them, that shit was getting eaten in 1 instant. So this is still significantly... Oh, wait. Missed something. Assimilation has been updated. The cooldown of anti-magic zone is reduced by 60 seconds, and it's now an 8-second duration. So 3-minute, 15% DR. Yeah, that's online. That's multiple levels of magnitude better than it was with the absorb cap. It's certainly worse than it was in Castle Nathria, but again, Castle Nathria is... The Castle Nathria anti-magic zone was maybe the single most broken piece of raid utility that anyone's ever had. So that should have been nerfed. Ever had might be a stretch, but certainly at that time in the game, and would be now at this time in the game, since most of the other stuff like Rally and Devo has been nerfed and stuff. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we'll take another look at Rally. If we're talking about raid cooldowns that have been nerfed a little too much, maybe Aura Mastery for Paladins as well. Okay, continuing on. Okay, so, I mean, again, even still, my take here is there's not a lot of classes, if you just remove tuning, there's not a lot of classes when you are deciding whether to bring them to a raid that you just definitely want one spec rather than another spec when bringing that class's buff. They removed it with Enhance. I could take some time and actually think about it now, I guess. I mean, I guess in a perfectly tuned world, you'd rather have AUG rather than Dev as a DPS evoker because... Or I guess rather than any evoker, because they just have a cheat death, and cheat death is just absurdly broken. Just removing everything else about AUG, if you're just removing numbers entirely, would you rather have a class with a cheat death or that one? Like, that's pretty obvious, right? Same thing with mages. You'd rather have your mages be fire. No question. But But also, like, Evoker's weird because, like, you don't even really bring Evoker for their singular raid buff. You bring them because of all the utility each one of them individually brings, which is actually stackable past one, which is unique to them. Maybe, yeah, Evoker's a bad example. You get the point, though. Blood DKs are just way better than DPS DKs. Like, if you're just removing tuning right now, let's just say every class in the game is averagely tuned, and they do what they say here, and they make it so grips are really, really good. I can tell you from someone whose job it is to solve that problem, the absolute first thing I would do is ask our tanks if double blood DK is viable. Instantly. Because you haven't used mass grip in a while, because it's just like super niche, and because A-Bomb's Limb is so good, but mass grip is going to be so much more important and so much better if they're saying that grips are going to become more important and A-Bomb's Limb is removed. So mass grip, worst case scenario, just gets you an extra single grip every, you know, every minute and a half or so, right? So they have more, and just they just have more single grips. So I don't know if that's their solution, but I can absolutely promise you, from a problem solver point of view, if they're saying to do this, and tuning was equal across the board, double blood DK is move number one with this. Max, what are you talking about? Mass grip was Giga on Brood Twister. Bro, you just... Okay, name me one other boss in the last a couple years where master... Like, you're talking Fyrak, Brood Twister, Styx, you didn't even need a DK. What I'm saying is, like, you don't... When you need a grip on a boss, you don't normally think, like, oh, I need mass grip. Like, it's... Usually our DKs are like, it's not even worth talenting into it in the world first race, like blood DKs. Like, A-Bomb's Limb absolutely devalued mass grip. What are you arguing? I don't even know. Why am I responding to this? I'm just okay. Here we go. Hero talents. I'm not going to read a bunch of these because if they're like actually turbo, oh my God. Yeah. There's like fucking 15 new talents. I might want to touch on stuff here that is like significant and easy to understand, obvious stuff, which I think, because this has been a few days, one benefit of that, which is not normally the case, is you guys could probably lead me in the direction of what I should actually look at. Look at Breath of Sindragosa change. Oh, fucking lock in. Lock in. That is one of my favorite buttons of all time. Breath of Sindragosa has been... Did they make this a fucking empower ability? Oh, that sounds... Why do I have like an innate like Dobby feeling about something being an empower cooldown? Is this the first time they've added an empower thing to any class in the game besides Evoker? I think so, right? Because slicing wins. Yeah, the Plunderstorm thing. You're right. Okay, let's look at it. I don't even know why I said that. Like, I think empower works. Like, there was a lot of dooming. Like, when empower first came out, people were like, they're going to make everyone's class empower now. Like, aim shot's going to be empower every time. And I think there's definitely cool ways to do empower. Like, Evoker has proved that. There's multiple empowers on Evoker that are really cool, and the decision-making process is really nice. And then some of them where it's like, I'm holding a button for a long time for no reason, and there's no decision-making. It's just always best to go to 3, right? So, like, or 1. Those are an example where it's bad. So they've done both. Okay, Breath of Sindragosa has been redesigned. Call upon Sindragosa's aid in battle, consuming 16 runic power to deal frost damage every second to enemies in a cone in front of you. Okay, so that part of it has not been redesigned. It seems like it is exactly the same as Breath. It's just the Empower section that's new. It's a 1.2 second Empower. It's a 2-minute cooldown, so same, and has 3 stages. All right. Stage 1. So if you let that shit go off right away, deals frost damage instantly. Okay, so, this is actually important. So, usually Breath of Sindragosa just starts, like, it's not actually a channel, but it, like, starts the channeling of breath instantly, and there's no active. So, one important thing they're doing here for empowers, which sounds good in theory, is they're making you holding the empower, they're adding a second element to Breath of Sindragosa, and they're giving it an initial hit. And that's super important. It's actually exactly what they were trying to do. Do you guys remember a few years ago when they added... a global cooldown to everyone's offensive button, and everyone hated it, and they ended up reverting almost all of them? What they were trying to do was they wanted to do that, yes, but they didn't do it with the intention of slowing you down. They wanted to give that GCD a ton of upfront power, and they did it with a few buttons in the game correctly that went on GCD then and have stayed that way, because it actually felt good for it to be pressed on the GCD if it meant that the reward was you lose a global, but that global fucking owns, you know, like it just does insane damn. A couple examples of that were like, I think like the arcane power change is basically that. There was a rogue button too that worked the exact same way, right? Vendetta getting changed to Deathmark. So I think they're kind of cooking with that part. I like that part. It's gonna make that feel a lot better. Oh, it only lasts for 8. Whoa. Okay, so if you insta charge breath. Okay, let's look at 3. So if you just charge breath fully, it's going to last for 30 seconds, which is kind of the intention of how long it really should last now. So they're basically saying, hey, you fully empower this shit. We're giving you what breath feels like in the current patch, right? And what a lot of people have hoped for, which is, and it's easier to tune this way too, is actually capping breath's duration. I personally am someone who like has really enjoyed infinite breath times, but I think it's way easier to balance and to create a better playstyle to have it be a really high intensity short duration, in my opinion. Short meaning like not infinite, right? So I fuck with this in theory, right? Who knows how this is going to play out until we can actually play with it, but okay. So you get Reggie breath if you fully empower, but if you choose to do it early, do they give you an interesting decision? You get a shorter breath, makes sense, has to be the case. But what do you get for the shorter breath? 75 seconds with cooldown. So what, this becomes a 45-second cooldown and lines up with Pillar? Or you can reduce it by 45 seconds and it's a minute and 15, which lines up with Pillar in that other talent build, or at least what used to be that other talent build. They made a bunch of changes here, so maybe they changed that. But I know like Frosty K's recently were like a minute and 15-second rotating class. Are they kind of cooking with this? I mean, isn't this exactly what you want to have an Empower, right? So if you like, as opposed to before, they like set actual parameters for it. Like if you're doing a mythic race to world first, but like you get the most bang for your buck. If you use a 2-minute cooldown, you're getting the best value by breath timing by having it up for 30 seconds. But right? Not everything's 2 minutes. Like maybe your Pillar or Empower Rune Weapon or something is just rotating at a different time. Or you're doing a fight where, yeah, I need to do damage with this 2 minute, but the Lust is actually a minute and a half from now. And otherwise I would actually have to wait to use this breath so it's up when Lust is up. That happens all the fucking time in progression, by the way, right? And then you just know on that one, you set a little note to yourself to like only empower to 2 on that. And yeah, you're not going to have as strong of cooldowns, but you're going to have your breath come up during Lust and you're going to pop the fuck off. Bro, you never know how things are going to play out. There's actually been so many things in the last 2 years where Blizzard has announced an idea for something and I read the idea and I read the theory behind it and I'm like, that totally owns, and then it completely sucks. You know? That's happened. So I don't know if this is going to completely suck or not. But this seems really, really good. There's a scenario where I could see this not being great. If you end up playing breath and it's actually correct to make it a 45-second cooldown to line up with something every single time for 8 seconds, which seems unlikely because you're getting such bad value on the amount of breath uptime. Someone in chat mentioned rank 3 has 25% uptime and rank 1 has 15% uptime though. That is a big difference, but the 15% uptime could potentially always be in CDs where the other one like maybe isn't. Here's my if you're always hitting a 1, I think that's bad. If you're always hitting a 2, I think that's bad. I think the best version of this gameplay wise is you're hitting a 3 on pull and Lust. You're hitting a 3 most of the time. Unless you're using a 1 or a 2 to fit into a specific fight situation or Mythic Plus situation. Like if you're in a lower key and the pack isn't going to live as long, you're absolutely hitting a 2, right? Like no question. Like a key, dude, if you guys have ever played Breath of Syndragosa in a key 2 low situation, this is the best change of all time. Like it's fucking so good. But yeah, but if you always are hitting a 1 and that's the best thing to do for damage, that just means the tuning on this is wrong. That's pretty easy to change with just how long a 3 lasts, I think. I love this. Anyways, grants a charge of Empower Rune Weapon at the start and 2 runes at the end. Grants a charge of Empower Rune Weapon at the start? Okay, they changed that button, I think. Castable while moving with 30% reduced movement speed. Oh, so like while you're empowering, you're not. Oh yeah, I mean, if you had to stand still and empower this, that would be horrible. Why do you even have a reduced movement speed penalty? Is my question. I guess because if you can never add it once you've had it be there. Flavor, friction, function. I mean, you can death's advance it anyway, right? Fuck it. Cool. Dev note: we are exploring a new design space with this iteration of Resto Druid, so we want this update to give you more control over how you use the ability. Yeah, I totally fuck with this. W by me. Someone said to read above about Empower Rune Weapon. Empower Rune Weapon has been designed. Drain your will of your enemy to empower your rune weapon, dealing Shadow Frost damage and reduce damage to nearby enemies, granting 40 runic power and granting you Killing Machine. Wait. Has 2 charges with a 30-second recharge. Oh, so that's like all the time. You're gonna okay. So just a little runic power gain and a Killing Machine proc. Interesting. So it does damage now? Must be. Yeah, it says drains the will of your enemy. That's definitely going to do damage. We found that there were too many passive effects that granted rune or runic power and Frost DK's resource economy. While moving away from some of these passive effects, we want to give you the tools and resources more methodically. Okay. And then obviously, hopefully this is off the GCD. Let's just go ahead. This has to be off the GCD. Like, no question. But it's going to be really hard for me to give a take on this because I haven't played new Frost DK since all these changes, and even if I spent my time reading all this shit, which I won't, it would be so hard to understand what the gameplay is going to actually feel like, and especially when they're messing around with how your runic power is going to feel, there's just no way to know how this new empower rune weapon could feel fucking amazing. Like, every time you press this, you need that 40 runic power so bad, and if that's the case, this is going to feel great. But also, if you're like, runic power, if you have too much, I mean, you guys know how it is, right? Anytime you are starved and or cannot stop from capping from, so the 2 extremes of runic power, runes, or any other resource your class has, right? That sucks. So hopefully they get that right. It's a 0.75 GCD. I haven't even played with that, and it is possible I'm out here hating on something I haven't even tried and it's actually fine. But I would say very strongly right now that this being on the GCD at all is terrible. Any kind of GCD, bad. Bad, stinky, bad. It needs to be off the GCD. That would be my feedback. Especially, like, dude, just imagine the feeling right now. Like, you're not going to miss a global because you don't have enough runic power to Frost Strike and it's the only thing you could possibly do, or you need a Killing Machine proc at the end of your cooldowns and you press this, but then you miss your cooldown window because you got that necessary Killing Machine or runic power to press your global on time, but you couldn't because it was a global. This is horrible. Like, I don't know, man. It's a damage button. I don't care. It's a damage button, but unless it's going to absolutely fucking own, it has to. It needs that, like, it's hard to describe. I was gonna say it needs to have that snap feeling. I don't even know. That's a terrible way to describe what I'm trying to say. But if it does ass damage, it needs to own or it needs to be off the GCD. Basically, the GCD has to basically be made up for by how much damage it does, or it needs to be off the GCD. Or just remove the damage. Because the reality is you're pressing this because you want the effect, you know? Okay. Anything else here to read from DKs that isn't like basically I want to avoid everything here that isn't just like part of an overall bigger package of changes. And basically you're going to play it for the first time and you're going to realize how all of them work together and you're going to feel how the gameplay flows. But like reading them all individually when there's like, I mean, how many new talents is there? Like 20? Like it's just nonsense. You're reading words. So just give me like a small baseline. Anything left for Frost? You retain D&D for a few seconds when outside of it. Okay, cool. Read Killing Streak. Obliterate and Frost Scythe consume all killing machines to deal 25% increased critical strike damage and grants 1.5% haste for 6 seconds for each stack consumed. Multiple applications may overlap. I'm assuming Iron First Style. New third gate talent before obliteration. Interesting. So you are... I mean, your cooldown window is going to feel a ton better. I feel like this is one of those things that you're going to need to see how the rest of this plays out. Because, like, obviously they could be increasing the amount of killing machines you get by a lot to make this a lot better. You know, I just don't know. No more D&D Oblit Cleave for Frost. Oh, interesting. That was a huge part of why you would actually bring them to raids. Replaced by extra Frost Scythe damage with Remorseless Winter Up. Oh, so like they didn't like the fact that you didn't take things like Frost Scythe and you relied more on just like your big single target cleaving a few other things, and they actually want to like emphasize that. They want you to more intentionally AoE on Frost is what they want. I can kind of see that. I mean, that could be fine. For whatever reason, I've always hated binding Frost Scythe. It's always just anytime that button's been meta, I was not happy. But I'm sure they made that not the case here. Okay. I think I'm going to skip all the rest of the Frost stuff. Wait, did they get rid of Chill Streak entirely? You know what? I think that might be okay. I really loved it when it was like the PvP artifact or Azurite thing. And there's been a few bosses where it really shined, but it is kind of like just like a thing in your rotation that, I don't know. And it's just been really bad for a while. Oh, they got rid of Cold Heart. Okay, no more. How did I feel about Cold Heart? I think Cold Heart's kind of whatever. I think it ran its course. Removed Horn of Winter. I'm a fan of that. Removed a few of these things. Okay. Unholy. With Ghosts of Koresh, we're looking to reduce the number of cooldowns Unholy Death Knight has and provide some new tools to both apply and remove festering wounds and AoE more efficiently. Okay, this is like their third attempt at getting that right. Specifically the last sentence. It's all one sentence, the last part of that sentence. Some talents have changed positions. I don't care about that. I'm going to ignore all of the new talent stuff. Not familiar with their tree layout at the moment. Abomination Limb has been renamed to Legion of Souls and redesigned. Okay. So Unholy specifically is keeping some version of A-Bomb's Limb. Summon a Legion of Clawing Souls to assist you, dealing shadow damage and applying up to 6 festering wounds over 12 seconds to all nearby enemies. Deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. All right, stop right here. Next on the long list of things they need to address is why they randomly decide to cap some things at 5 and some things at 8 or 20, you know? I think that's the next thing that needs to be addressed. Like, target caps need to be... Like, the goal with target caps made sense. The theory was good. It didn't work. It's still not working. And with you basically designing new abilities with a 5 target cap, are you saying to yourself as a Blizzard developer, all right, but specifically Legion of Souls on 5 targets is going to beat uncapped classes? Because if that's not true, which we've proven before doesn't really work in this game consistently, what are we doing here? Why is this number not 8, right? Or why are the ones that are 8 not 5? One of the two. Why are they... I just don't get it. All good, though. Grants you the benefits of Standing in Death and Decay. Choice note against Raise A-Bomb. Okay, so like AoE... Like an AoE cooldown. Oh, it's a choice note against Raise A-Bomb. Does Raise A-Bomb still take the place of Army? So this would be like AoE Army of the Dead, basically. That's kind of sick. Looks like it's going to look really cool, too. Or sounds like it's going to look really cool. All will serve as been redesigned. Raise Dead summons an additional skeletal archer at your command that shoots blighted arrows. Okay, when you have a guy out, your sudden doom death coil makes him shoot more, and epidemic will cause it to ricochet to 2 additional targets. That's kind of cool. Just making that talent a lot better. Reaping has an additional effect. Soul Reaper's execute effect increases the damage of your minions by 10% for 8 seconds. Depends on how much damage is coming from minions, but making Unholy DK's execute better is a very interesting proposition, especially with the more recent Blizzard designing execute phases for the first time in years. Execute classes haven't really mattered. And like the last time that execute was really, really good, or one of the last times that execute was really, really good, was like Sire Denathrius, in which Unholy DKs were the best execute in the game at that point. That specific patch, right? So love seeing this. Apocalypse now replaces Dark Transformation if it is known, and also summons your pet ghoul on cast. So they literally just combine these 2 buttons. I think that's good. The question is how this is going to feel outside of like your major cooldown windows. The thing with Unholy that's always been weird is your big cooldowns have always felt really cramped, but those same buttons made your little mini cooldown windows feel better, you know? So like obviously the goal is for Blizzard to have both of them feel great. It'd be interesting to see how they're actually approaching that. It's bad. You don't want them synced. They do different things. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Obviously they're redesigning it. Festering Scythe, Override Aura. Yeah, okay. A lot of the stuff I can probably ignore. Oh, did they get rid of Vile Contagion? Yo, when this first came out, I had some fun doing some like wound build dungeons where you were using this, but it even when it did big dam, it was still like really clunky to set up. DK players are going to be mad due to all these skill expression changes. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Also, DKs usually are mad about everything. But I could see that. Your hope if you're a DK player is like they end up doing you kind of like Ret. Not that you play like Ret specifically, but if they're reducing skill expression, right, that doesn't mean your class doesn't have to be not fun. Like, I use Ret as an example all the time for this, where, like, Ret is a very easy class to understand and play, but it's also a class that is very fun, and I think has very, like, high-level mastery to it as well. So I don't think your class being less... Like, here's an example of that, too. And I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but, like, I also heard people when they made Festermite... Do you guys remember how old Festermite used to work? Where, like, you would literally AFK at the end of packs. You would dismiss your pet or make your pet AFK so he didn't put up a wound on a mob on 5%, so it didn't start your your Festermite window, so you didn't go into a new pack with it halfway over, so your whole burst was ruined. Right? It was terrible gameplay, and they changed it, which was great. And then some people were like, you know, like, I hate this because now I can't outplay another DK like I used to. It's like, yeah, you could technically outplay someone with that, so it did have some skill ceiling to it, but it was also the most annoying skill ceiling to deal with. Like, yeah, you were outplaying someone, but at what cost, you know? You were doing something just totally fucking lame. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see how it plays out. Have you guys already played it? Like, you guys have played the PTRs out. You've played the newly redesigned both specs. You figured out a good build or what they intend to be a good build for both of them, and it's just like fucking like bad. Like, it's just not fun. It's you don't feel challenged with your rotation kind of stuff. Because that would suck, right? That would be you'd have totally valid complaints if that was the case. Because if it's numbers related, I would, especially with this many changes, I would really not try to focus on the numbers. I would try to like make a build that looks like it should play well, not try to just like play whatever sims the best. Because like right now the numbers are going to be absolutely cooked. And if you're just trying to like stick together a bunch of things that don't make sense because some things are randomly overtuned or undertuned, you're going to be playing like a completely broken, not intended spec, you know, which isn't your fault. That means it's going to be really hard to actually gauge where this is. This has been the case of basically every redesigned spec in the past couple of years, where its initial, they need to kind of make a lot of the stuff work. It seems like for Frost, they did a ton of shit. Okay, moving on. I may completely skip some classes if you guys feel like the changes aren't enough worthy of like actually mentioning. New Unholy redesign is literally no different from current. Not that that's a bad thing though. Frost is pretty much what we were waiting to see how it ends up. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've always really liked Unholy, even though it's had some issues. But it's interesting in that video that they said we're really working on Unholy this patch, and they didn't even mention Frost, but Frost is the one that's actually getting reworked. That's just so strange that they chose to do that. Oh, wait, here we go. Dev note for Resto Druid. We're making an adjustment to healing cooldowns to increase their strength in smaller group play without affecting their performance at 20 targets. Right away, again, theory versus actual outcome. I don't know how this will come out, but I think this theory is exactly right. Like, I think when I look at dungeon healing now, it looks like such nonsense. Like, you have cooldowns and everyone's healed instantly, or you don't, or everyone's dying. And if you look back at Legion, there's a couple videos about this. I'm not, like, ripping this off the dome. There's a couple videos that perfectly show this. Like basically, as a Resto Druid in Legion, if you just managed, like, your HOTS, you're basically healing through bursts of damage with, like, really good wild growths or like other just like group healing stuff that you had on short CDs, and then you used a cooldown when things went wrong or it was like a crazy fucking pull. Now healing is like none of those buttons do anything, and you just have to use big burst healing to make someone not get one shot. It's been less one shotty, I think, in the last season or so than previous things, but like this is the thing they need to do. They need to make the actual buttons so much better rather than the cooldowns. And by the way, I'm using Resto Druid as an example, but you could rejuve and all that other shit, just replace that with heals that other healers have. The healers are all pretty different, but that's not how the game plays anymore. But this is a great thing to keep an eye out on. This is intended to be an overall large buff in 5-player content, a medium to small buff between 6 to 19 players, and no change at 20 players, and a nerf beyond 20 players. So they're nerfing 30 man. Dude, I wonder if they're also going to nerf the other healers that are like crazy good at 30 man specifically. I wonder if Blizzard, I wonder if Blizzard just doesn't care about. Do you think it's smart for Blizzard to actually tune classes with 30 man raids in mind? There's such a niche, like most people's interaction with normal and heroic raids, which are the only ones that can be 30 man, are like, I would say 90% of runs are 20 man or less. Because most guilds just actually, I mean, maybe that number is a little wrong. Because like early in the season, people like bring their whole guild. So it's like anywhere like a 24 or 26 people or something. But like most people that do heroic as their main content have like 13 people on their raid. I've joined a bunch of those fucking raids. Or they have the ratio, 239, 2314, whatever. So it's usually not 20. So that being said, even if like there's one healer that's like super busted in 30 man, like who, it should never affect their 20 man viability that you're ever thinking about their 30 man viability. Basically, it's that irrelevant. But small group healing, super important. Okay, I didn't read what they actually did. I'm just gonna look at these chain. I'm just gonna read what they said and assume they did that. Or they're trying to do that. Evoker. Engulf damage and healing increased by 100%. Okay, I just realized I'm reading things that don't matter. Ooh. What is the cooldown of rewind with this? Is this 2.5 minutes now? Rewind? Ooh. That. Rewind is a crazy raid button, man. Actually, it's so weird. Like, I feel like there's a lot of fights that can happen that rewind doesn't seem like it has a huge impact, but it really does. Like, I remember, so Pres Evoker's pressing rewind on Nexus Princess Kaiveza was the most anticlimactic use ever. You pressed it, and like the overall healing it didn't matter at all, but it kept people alive. Like, you would use it after like a set of daggers went out, and then you were healing those massive debuffs, right? And you would press rewind halfway through that debuff, and then all those people would never die. That's what happened when you did that. But I think a preservation evoker's wet dream is they press rewind and then like everyone's at 10% health and they're just fucking yo-yoing the whole rewind, right? But it's so fucking useful to reduce deaths in specific situations, even when it doesn't seem like it's the perfect use of it. I love rewind as a raid leader. Like, rewind is so good. But maybe you won't take it. Who knows? Because stasis is crazy. That's kind of what they mention here. Reversion now has 2 charges. Didn't that always used to be the case? Or was that given to you by a talent and now it's just baseline? Its baseline was talent. Delay harm has been redesigned. 15% of damage taken from time dilation. Damage over time is absorbed. Oh my god. Now reduces time dial's cooldown by 10 seconds and grants an additional charge. Holy fucking moly, that's good. That is so good in raid. Please tell me you guys can take this talent. Can you get 2 fucking charges of time dial? That is insane. This one, they're kind of cooking with delay harm. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen to you or if you are a Pres Evoker or have seen this happen, but a badly used time dial can be the best external in the game in the right situation. It's a fascinating button, and it could be objectively worse than not pressing the button at all in a lot of other situations. Have you guys ever seen someone get time dialed during a point where they're taking a lot of damage, but then that damage doesn't stop? Like, they're going to continue taking damage after it's over, and then you see the fucking time dial dot ticking with the damage they're taking actively? That is the scariest shit of all time. It's so scary. Like, it makes time dial, like, more likely that someone will die by using it in that kind of situation. But, like, if you use it to where, obviously, the damage is going to be over when time dial's off, very Gucci. Real nice, right? You can just Renewing Blaze them. True, if you're that spec. God, external renewing blaze also so God, evokers are so good. But that's so fucking good for raid. Oh lord. Okay. Preservation doesn't have access to a damage reduction external ability outside of renewing blaze's flame shaper. Huh? Doesn't have access to a damage reduction external ability outside of renewing blaze's flame shaper. Am I missing something? Don't they have time dilation? Damage reduction external ability. That is exactly what time dial is, right? Which hurts their potential. They don't consider time dilation a damage reduction. It is, though. You know? Like, when it's used and it's really, really strong, which is like 80% of the time, it functions exactly like a damage reduction. Right? You can always heal someone over time, but reducing that upfront damage, I don't need to explain this to any of you, but like, dude, that's crazy. If they don't consider time dial a damage reduction external, that that kind of makes some sense because I feel like they don't understand how powerful this ability is. Because, like, completely technically it's not, but, like, if it just absolutely is. You know what I mean? So, like, as a developer, you should treat it like the external damage reduction ability it is and not what it technically isn't, right? What a weird dev note. That's honestly really strange. Anyways. Stasis powers made it field require. Yeah, we want to make this a talent that competes with stasis so you don't feel required to use it. You're still going to use stasis. Okay, moving on. Hunters, anything cool? Fuck hunters, stuff and things. All right, cool. Hunter got some changes. Looks like you got a massive BM, many talents have changed positions angle. Cool. Moving on. Oh, same thing with MM. Ton of MM changes. Inspired Intellect now grants 6% instead of 3. Don't know what that means. Time Anomaly has been removed. Is Time Anomaly the thing at the bottom of their class tree that was a choice node with what used to be the Lust thing that just randomly would proc Lust the most inconsistently ever? Like, it would proc, like, out of combat and shit? Yeah, I'm glad they removed that. As a very, very part-time mage, that shit stinks. And I'm a big fan of things randomly procking and mixing up your rotation, but that one didn't feel like it was made very well. This has been redesigned. Cool. Hero talents for Spellslinger. Cool. Arcane. Any actual changes that matter. Monk. Vivacious Vivification has been redesigned. Your next Vivify is instant cast after casting Rising Sun Kick. W. Fist Weaving is way better than anything else. Okay. And wait, I guess that's also just in general for all monks, right? Isn't this class tree? Is Vivacious Vivification the thing that made it so where every like 10 seconds you would just get a free use? Also removes a weak aura? Yeah, most likely. Like, you don't have to remember exactly when it's refreshing, so you can get 2 in quick succession. You'll just know when you Rising Sun Kick you can do it, and you want to do it before you Rising Sun Kick again. They did a big Brewmaster change. I'm going to read what they want to do, and I'm going to ignore all the things they're actually doing, because I don't know what these words mean. Haven't played this spec in years. We're making some adjustments to Brewmaster Monks to provide new options for smoothing out and stabilizing both damage intake and healing. Okay. It is ironic that they were super spiky as the class is supposed to be super smooth. We've also made some adjustments to the Ox with the intent of making it more consistently present and impactful, as well as improving its integration with the rest of Brewmaster gameplay. All right, anything here cool before we move off? Looks like they're also doing a Mistweaver. Same thing as Resto Druid. We want to make them better in 5-man targets without 5-man group without nerfing their raid performance, except for 30-man raids, which don't matter. Dorky said brew is good. Cool. All right. Divine Hammer has been updated. Now has a 2-minute cooldown was 1 minute. Now lasts for 10 seconds was 8. Duration now increased by 0.3 instead of 0.5. Damage increased by 12. Okay, yeah, so they don't want this to be permanent or anywhere close, but they want it to be a more powerful... I mean, they're literally just making this like breath. Except it looks like... I mean, they're doubling its cooldown and only increasing its damage by 12%. So what they're actually doing is killing it unless they make further changes, right? Just generally speaking, if you make something up half as often, you would need to make it twice as good for it to still be... I know this is a little bit more complicated than that because it has to do with like extending a buff and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously that's going to be terrible. You doubled cooldown, damage increased by 12%. Okay, cool. So we're just never going to take that anymore. What does it think? It lasts like 20 seconds at best now, so it's bad? I mean, that doesn't have to be bad though, right? You can make it last 20 seconds at best and make it do significantly more damage. And then in those 20 seconds you own, and it could still be a good talent. They're just not doing that. All good. Also, and this is like kind of a weird game design thing, because things aren't always balanced equally, and you do sometimes go multiple patches playing the same talents and abilities and then without playing other ones. I think it's okay sometimes. I don't know if they actually look at it like this, but I've felt this way playing specs where it's kind of been nice for one patch that like a certain ability you've been playing with forever isn't good and you use something else that the ability isn't great, right? If they're getting rid of something that's like awesome to press, that doesn't feel awesome, right? But like swapping around some things every now and then, and I mean literally just for the sake of just changing some shit up sometimes is nice if you do it to the right abilities. Although I don't think devs probably think like that at all. But they could. Priest, Holy Nova mana cost reduced by 87%. Is that the thing where they spam AoE damage? Bro, that is a fucking huge number. How much mana did it cost to Holy Nova? Am I thinking of the right spell? Did they change something else that makes that make sense? Did they say the word Holy Nova somewhere else over here? They didn't. Holy shit. Okay. Okay, Discipline. Luminous Barrier Absorption increased by 100%, but its absorption now reduces more rapidly beyond 5 targets. And this is a 5-man healing cooldown play. Is this the thing that's on a that you take instead of actual barrier? Is that what this button is? I think that's what this is. I don't know if it's a choice note or what, but I've seen some people play this in a raid environment, and the only thing I could possibly think of is this shows up on the healing meter and barrier doesn't, but like barrier is obviously just one of the best buttons in the entire game, and whatever this is fucking awful. So maybe they're trying to make it better in 5-mans. I could see a scenario where having an absorb version of barrier is better in a 5-man than actual barrier, right? So it'd be cool if it was at least an option, I guess. But in raid, I don't ever want to lay my eyes on a fucking disc priest taking this talent. But I guess this doesn't change that at all for raid, so W. W me. Dude, I'm fucking yapping right now. I need to drink some water. Holy. Just making them better 5-man healers. Cool. Shadow. Oh, God. Are they doing it again? Here's what I want to see. I'm going to read this dev note, but I better see under this that Psychic Link has been adjusted in some way up or down. Don't care which. And I hope they've been reworked. All right, let's see. The Shadow Tree has undergone a number of changes in Ghost of Koresh. Oh my God, they did. A major goal for us was to update the less impactful, interesting talents in the last 3 rows of the tree. We like the theme with the idols as capstones, but have heard from the community that they stink. We've also added a new ability that can be used after the Void Torrent called Void Volley, which we think will be an exciting rotational and visual addition to the spec. Oh, so like you do Void Torrent and then you like, there's like an AoE portion of it? That's kind of sick. How does it look? Does it look cool? Have you guys tried it? Oh no, actually you probably can't talk to Shadow Priests right now. I feel like Shadow Priests are in like a permanent state of depression for multiple days, at least after any changes happen to them. We're making some adjustments to Shadow Crash as well, giving it more flexibility and the option to significantly increase its damage. Dude, shout out our Shadow Priest this tier lying to me that when we said that nothing could cleave in between the cages of Muggsy anymore until we found out Ignite still could if you did the crazy, if you did the shit crazy style. And our Shadow Priests were like, no, you can still use Shadow Crash to apply dots. And they just fucking made that up. All good. Nothing wrong with making shit up. This does come with a reduction in the number of targets Vampiric Touch is applied to from 8 to 6, but we feel like this is a necessary change to ensure Shadow's damage at lower target counts remains competitive when we do our tuning passes. W. I'm interested to see what they do with dots in general this patch, because like for the first time since BFA, last raid dots were back. Like dots defined a raid fight, multiple raid fights, and that has not happened in a very long time. I just wonder if they're going to continue with that, because if that's the case and you're a dot class, just lock in for the next couple years, I guess, until they realize again that it's when they nerfed it the first time, they realized that dots are actually just too powerful. Like if you tune a class with dots to be competitive in single target and they just have dots that do a lot of damage, and then you add more targets like you do on every raid fight, they're just the best class all the time. Not saying they should nerf that for priests. I actually do enjoy dots being a thing. It's a fun thing to comp stack around and stuff. But it's also just like, it's a thing, you know, it's hard to balance. Actually, they can nerf you, Shadow. Get mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. Get your Psychic Link changed and buffed and nerfed again. We're making a simplification change to Death Speaker with the aim of reducing the potential number of competing priorities the spec has. We're looking to create more breathing room. I don't know why I read all this shit. Is there anything cool here? I kind of want to see what Void Volley looks like. High key. This looks nice. Yo, 2 charges of Shadow Crash on a 15-second CD is sick, right? They did nerf the amount of dots it put out, but that just seems really good, right? Like really, really good. Made Void Torrent up more often? Bro, they gave a ton of changes. More changes than Unholy, which they specifically mentioned in the WoWcast. So strange. Outlaw. Killing Spree has been redesigned. Finishing move that unleashes a barrage of gunfire, rapidly striking random enemies within 8 yards for physical damage over its duration. Same thing, right? Duration and number of strikes increases per combo point spent. Restores 1 combo point every... Oh, so it gives you combo points. Okay. Now is a channeled ability with a 0.5 second duration per combo point spent, reduced by haste. You can move and use some travel and defensive abilities while channeling, but movement is slowed, and they buffed it. Oh, so it doesn't teleport you. It's not a button that you press and die now every time. What does it look like though? I kind of want to see it. I think I might log on the old... Let me start downloading the old public test realm. Tempest now cancel at the start of raid encounters and Mythic Plus dungeons. Good. Okay. Some enhanced changes. Resto, same thing. Making Healing Tide Totem better in dungeons. It's a great change. Could they also make Healing Tide Totem just better all the time? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Maybe just a little buff on that. 'Cause, like, here's my thing. Purely raid leader point of view, I have a weak aura thing that shows like all the major healer cooldowns, right? And Healing Tide is included in that, but just barely. Like, it matters just enough to where I would track it, but it would be really nice. Basically, I don't want to remove it from the thing I'm tracking it on. I would like to still see it. So could we make it just do more? And we like removed AG, right? So there's a world where it makes sense. Even like I'm not even capping, as they say. No cap on that. Okay, Warlock. Corruption now deals damage on application and is instant cast. Okay. The scale of your primary demon is now consistent. Bro, I don't even know how Warlock. What am I reading? Is there anything what is happening here? They're tuning the right side of the tree. THD, what does this mean? I know you're here, you little fucking rat. You little rat. All right, he's actually not here. Fuck. You guys might be summoning him because he has a Chatterino, and anytime you type his name, he gets a notification. I just let you know that. So if you ever want to summon him into like any chat ever, you just like type his name and he just has to go there if you want to like torment him. I don't even think you have to add him, by the way. I think you just type it. All good. Might even work in YouTube. Slam it. Cool. Destro. Cool. Warrior. The cooldown of Hamstring is now 0.75 seconds instead of 1.5. You know what? Minor change, but in general, at least purely speaking of PvE, PvPers, if you're listening to this, first of all, why? Just straight up, why are you here? Second, like anytime you're pressing something from your spell book that like doesn't do damage in PvE, so like you're basically doing it to help yourself or help your party, they should make that decision less punishing. So like making the global cooldown not exist or reducing it, or give you some kind of benefit. Like if you successfully hamstring a target, you know, it's not like better to do in your offensive rotation, but you don't feel as bad for doing it, right? It would make people more aware of the other stuff in their spellbook, and it's just overall, I've been a big advocate of that for a while. So this is minor, but I wish they did this for like basically every button that you would use in a similar situation to hamstring in PvE, which is like almost never except for very niche situations. Make those times you press that button feel less bad. Maybe. Okay, Prot. Many of Prot Warrior's talents in each gate provide either key capabilities and this and this and this. Okay. Okay, just a bunch of new talents. I'm going to skip this. Anyone have any like actual thoughts on Prot Warrior here, or like specific things I should look at that are significant? Spell block is gone. Did they like give them anything to deal with bleeds or magic damage to make up for that? Because that's a big problem. Like in Mythic Plus, it's a huge problem. In Raid too, though, like they've always just been like really weak to magic bleeds, things that aren't just like auto attack white swings or things that are blockable. Like basically warriors for the longest time have been if you can block it, you're invulnerable. So like the only way they can challenge you in a lot of raid content is like making tank busters magic, and then it's like, okay, it's kind of sketchy. Spell block changed a lot of that. I don't know if I'm going to spend a bunch of time looking at if they made up for that in other ways, but if the end result of this is warriors get cranked by magic damage again, way more than, because they've kind of given every tank a way to heal or to deal with it, right? Like DK's entire bit is healing through the damage they're taking. They don't care if it's magic or physical. Forget the fact they have AMS. Like most people, when they talk about DK as being great at tanking magic damage, they refer to AMS for some reason, but it's like just definitely about the way that they mitigate damage in general, which with Deathstrike. But like Vengeance Demon Hunters are like a weird cross between a Prot Warrior and a Blood DK. Like Demon Spikes, even though a lot weaker than Shield Block, is like halfway there, and halfway they do a bunch of healing themselves by design, not like actually in practice. Paladins have a bunch of healing in their kit and a bunch of immunities and ways to deal with magic damage, magic bomb, bubble, stuff like that. Strong magic damage dealing abilities. Druids have added more like healing into their kit, but in general I think also are still like a little better at physical than magic, but not to the like level that warrior would be without spell block. Please read Spellbreaker. It's so funny. If I can find it. You have a 4% chance to disrupt magic damage dealt to you, negating 100% of it. So what? It's like they're basically giving you magic parry, right? Like 4% magic parry. It's just random. Yeah, I mean it's literally parry, right? Like you have a 1 in 20 chance of parrying any magic damage you take. Just think of it as like a 4% DR. except not really. That's how you would view it in physical. Because, like, this is, like, what parry is for you now. It is literally parry, right? But you're not mad about parry because you take enough physical damage to where, like, it averages out to just be a reduction. But the reality is a lot of magic things that hit you just do infinite damage. Or, right, they're like big, large, singular hits of things to where parries are so much, like, the variance of parry would make it a lot harder to survive. Also, I doubt that was built to completely negate the loss of spell. Yeah, I think they just need to take a look at that. That's all. Who knows? Also, maybe you play this and, like, warriors are really broken or something. I don't know what their exact design intention is, but it's scary. Max, damn it. Max, chat wanted to be mad and you're being reasonable and sensible and actually critically thinking about all this. Well, we're in a really weird spot right now because usually we're all reacting to this at once and you guys definitely overreact to every bit of information and I try to be more reasonable, but actually I was on a trip. So I'm actually reading this for the first time 2 days later and you guys have had 2 days to think about this. So even if you reacted initially really angrily and defensively, you've now had multiple days to think about it, calm down, rant in the class Discord, and then calm down again. And then actually go on the PTR and play this and see if it's bad. So it's actually pretty... I should probably listen to what you guys are saying more because it should be a lot more likely that you're not just raging for no reason like what normally happens on day one. Like you guys should actually be a lot more reasonable than me because you've actually experienced it. Someone in chat said, "Oh God, don't listen to us more." Bro, you are us in this scenario. You're saying that about you. Yeah, chat's been in the lab, bro. What's up, Cricky B? Oh, they actually used it. They did a dev note for it. Spell block required a lot of specialized knowledge to use. Not only did you need to know when damage was coming, but also whether it was a form of magic damage that could be blocked or not, and thus affected the ability. AoE damage isn't blockable, neither is periodic damage. Some tank busters are, and others aren't. We weren't happy with the knowledge demanded to use the ability effectively. Okay, I didn't even read this. This is facts. That is the intention behind removing it. I'm not saying they adequately gave you enough to deal with it. Their reasoning here makes total sense. I don't know, like a lot of other things where their reasoning makes total sense and then the reality is whatever change they made fucking sucks, right? What is it? This is such a weird dev note though because it applies to tanking in general. Not really, because of the way that a lot of different tanks deal with magic damage and some overly mitigate physical, like specifically over the years, Prot Warriors and Brewmaster Monks, is they would take infinite... like they would take no physical damage. So they started, this is actually like a raid. I think whoever wrote this is like totally raid. They're thinking about raid tanking, and in raid, I think this is very accurate. Like they, a lot of tank busters end up being what they use to try to kill you. And they are magic and not physical for the exact reason you'd think of. And it's just confusing whether it works or not. And I can see as a developer wanting to remove the confusing part. So we'll see what they end up cooking with this. But certainly, if you guys play Warrior on the PTR, definitely give them your feedback. I'm actually just thinking, is it hard to give good tank feedback on the PTR? I feel like it's way easier for DPS. Like, you can just go hit a dummy and give feedback on how something feels. But as a tank, I feel like it's really hard because it's probably hard in PTR to find content that's really trying to kill you. And you might have to wait until it's, like, already live to give, like, realistic feedback on how something feels defensively, if that makes sense. I've never really thought about it like that, even though I tanked for, like, a really long time. I guess you can do PTR keys now. Okay, dungeon checkpoints are evolving into waystones with more visual representation of unlocked checkpoints. A new icon will also appear in the map showing you where waystones are within the dungeon. Talked about that. Banger change, by the way. I don't want to overlook that. We just already reacted to it. Mythic Plus players can vote to abandon a Mythic Plus run after a key is socketed. Okay, players who leave runs before completion, timer end, or a successful vote to abandon will eventually be marked as a keystone deserter in the pre-made dungeon finder. Okay, so you don't get any actual penalties. It's just when you're signing up for a key, people see that you're a keystone deserter for, I guess, some amount of time. I'm actually interested to know if someone's trying to recruit someone to their group and they see this, like, scarlet letter on your application, but you're also the class they want and you're, like, 2k IO higher or, like, 200 IO higher than someone else, are they just still going to pick you, though? Because, like, I don't know, people are going to say there's realistic reasons to leave a run. Like, but I mean, like, most of those scenarios, you would be able to get a vote thing to go first. Plus, it's also not an actual, like, it doesn't stop you from queuing for keys. It just, So, I mean, I guess a good thing for this is that if you're in like a pre-made group with your friends, which is probably hard for Blizzard to realize if you're in like a pug versus like a full pre-made, that's why they didn't have it be a penalty maybe. Because like we talked about this before. We had a long talk on the podcast about like who these people actually are, you know? Like not talking like, okay, so in really, really high keys, or if you care about your time and you're in like a decently high key, not like a run for loot like a 10 or a 12 or whatever, like you're doing what would be like a 17 or an 18 now. If that run kind of depends on you doing the first pull and you fail, you can either be mathematically already eliminated, or most of the people are just going to be like, it doesn't make sense for me to do another 25 minutes of my time when this is already cooked. But actually that line of thinking existed before resilient keys, because now like there's a chance you're doing that key and you could actually fail on that pull and then you could just zone in and go again, you know? You have to complete keys for the title to go away. It's not timed. When I'm thinking about when the community got the most mad about people leaving dungeons, wasn't it actually at the beginning of this expansion in Mythic 0 Arakara? Or was it Heroic Arakara? It wasn't even Mythic. Just people looking for that egg thing, right? And this wouldn't even affect that at all. This is only in Mythic Plus. I guess is Mythic 0 technically Mythic Plus? It's not, right? Because you don't actually put a keystone in. So if people are doing that in Arakara again, Mythic 0 Arakara in the first week, this wouldn't actually apply to that. It's purely in Mythic Plus. I haven't spent a lot of time. You know what? I'm going to table this because I bet Dorky and Dratnos, I'm recording a podcast with them right after my stream today. I'm sure they have some thoughts on this and have thought about it a lot more than me. But this is just one of those things where like basically anyone that's like actually joining a dungeon with the intention of griefing it, and like they join it with no intention of completing it, but they're going to grief on purpose and leave just so the people are fucked or whatever, which I think true psychos, probably not a lot of people like that. I'm not talking people that leave for valid reasons, like actually just like running it down mid on purpose to fuck with random people they don't know, like true psycho shit. I'm interested to see how this will work now. Like, is this actually going to change anything? Okay, so if you run into someone who is going to leave your dungeon, right? The person you're trying to target with this, not someone who's leaving for a good reason, like the leaver, right? If they start a vote and the vote doesn't go through, are they gonna keep playing, or are they just gonna go AFK, effectively bricking your key anyway? Does it really change anything? And then also, yeah, at the resilient level, this doesn't really change anything, but I just don't even know if the scarlet letter you get from leaving is even enough of a punishment. You know what? Who knows? How about we just leave it at this? This seems like it's a good first step. It probably doesn't immediately solve the problem, but I think it's a nuanced enough issue where like I don't know if there is an obvious effective solution they can immediately implement. But this is a step in the right direction. They're approaching something that everyone kind of universally agrees with, is like people who like leave dungeons a lot are not fun to play with, right? So like trying to reduce or not incentivize that behavior is good. It's a good thing. Good first step, I would say. We'll see how it turns out, and they can work on it after that. I could have said that like 5 minutes ago. I don't even know why I spent time talking about this. We've looked at all the class changes. We now are moving on to tier sets, and then we're going to look at gear, and then if there's apparently there's like some other Mythic Plus stuff that might have gotten covered though. And then we can spend some other time doing some other shit. I'm going to drink some water. Did you guys... Oh, Max, you missed a Shadowmeld potion. Oh, word? Where is that? Oh, here. A new recipe, invigorating healing potion. This potion will... Okay, so there's a new healing pot. And then Umbra Essentia. Slink into darkness, reducing the chance for enemies to detect your presence. Effect lasts for 20 seconds to 1 minute, depending on potion quality, or ends upon moving. And it incurs a 5-minute combat potion cooldown. Here we go. We're adding a new potion in Ghost of Koresh that replicates abilities such as Night Elf's Racial Shadowmeld to address its prevalence in high-end Mythic Plus play. It's crazy to read a dev note mentioning high-end Mythic Plus because, like, for literally 8 years from when Mythic Plus first came out to 8 years from then, High Mythic Plus has been a like growing community that people engaged in, and it's just crazy knowing how popular it was with them never designing with those people in mind ever. Literally ever until the beginning of this expansion, or specifically in the beta cycle for this expansion when they said they weren't going to change Mythic Plus, and then everyone got really mad, and then they did, and then they actually started designing the game for High Mythic Plus. Like basically everything that happened in High Mythic Plus was a complete accident from them tuning for what used to be 20s and are now 10s, where the reward stopped, and then it's just like it just infinitely scaled, and they were like, have fun. Literally did not give a fuck, right? So let's see how this works. So as a large number of top performing groups rely on Shadowmeld for certain strategies, we're looking to offer access to that utility without being locked to a specific race, with a goal of reducing the pressure of group composition. I mean, overall, it's a W, right? Like, I think there's other ways of solving this problem, but it's better than before. Like, feeling like you had to be Shadowmeld or Night Elf, you might now. Some people would argue you still have to, because you can just Shadowmeld twice now. Like, Night Elves get 2 uses of it, but in a lot of dungeons there isn't. Like, the pot will do for certain. Now, other dungeons that's not true. And is it still technically better? Yes, but like, does this make it feel like you're less likely to need that? Oh, great, I'm lagging. I think we may be stabilizing, boys. All right, the lagging is over. Lagging is over. Officially. Nope, and it's back. Max, will this pot even matter? It's a 5-minute CD. You lose another combat pot. I mean, if you don't have Night Elves in your group and people that can't be Night Elf, more importantly, and now you can do a skip that you otherwise couldn't do because of that, or an extra skip because of the cooldown, this would absolutely save you more time than you would gain by using a DPS potion, for example. So, I mean, this is extremely relevant. Okay, so you're right that I don't think that this completely solves this, but I do think that this existing is good. Yes, does it technically make like Night Elf still a little better than some other race if you could have Shadowmeld exist? Yes. But there are some classes that could never be Shadowmeld, or that could never be Night Elf, that can Shadowmeld now, which is great. So I am happy that, for me personally, a better change, in my opinion, is making, and this is probably because they couldn't make this work, is to make Shadowmeld simply not have any effect in dungeons, right? Like, think about raids. Can you imagine how hard it would be to design raid fights if Shadowmeld could work on, which, by the way, it doesn't. Shadowmeld doesn't work on anything in raids. Why? Because it would be fucking hell on earth if it did. It would just make bosses not do things, right? So that's how they deal with that. If your issue is like Shadowmeld is super prevalent in Mythic Plus, I honestly think like people, if they don't want to be Night Elf, would rather be something else, right? It's obviously the most OP racial. Like, Dwarf is close, but like it's Shadowmeld is just by far the most OP racial. I just feel like removing it is better than introducing it to more people. It also must be harder to like design things that are supposed to challenge you if your thing is making you Shadowmeld them more. But this is definitely better than it is right now. I just think there's better changes. My thought is Blizzard just either can't figure out a way to do that, or they really care that Shadowmeld does work in like lower level dungeons, like normals. So like a LARPing Night Elf is like, I can just disappear, and they do it. All right, and they can't make it not work in Mythic Plus, but it does work in like normal, you know, some shit like that. But yeah, cool. Tier sets. Let's get these tier sets out of the way. All right, let's get it. Pog or dog? Okay. So they're actually, it's so interesting. They're actually naming the tier sets after the hero talents instead of for the actual spec. But then they are different for the spec. So we are going to read some of these multiple times. Casting Reaper's Mark grants 2 stacks of Exterminate with 150% the first scythe effectiveness and 125% second scythe effectiveness. Foreset is Reaper's Mark can stack up to 15 additional times and increase your crit chance by 10% after it explodes for 8 seconds. Okay. The issue with tank is like maybe they're making all the tank ones weak. This is the first one I'm reading, but tank sets kind of just have to be absurdly overpowered, because some tank is going to be absurdly overpowered, and tanks by default kind of multi-class. And because tank potential tier power being much higher than the other two roles, at least historically, can happen when you see something not defensively crazy strong, doesn't seem good. Like, yeah, crit gives parry, but like, not really. I don't know. Or maybe their thought is, let's make all tank tier dog shit, and that way it's easier to balance them because tier is so volatile. But then that's not fun, because then you're like looking forward. You're supposed to look forward to this thing you get in the patch. You know, I don't know. It's weird. Sand Lane, mastery by 0.8% per stack. Cool. And Blood Beast let last for an additional 4 seconds. And Vampiric Strike increase the melee attack power of your dancing rune weapon by 5% for 6 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. That doesn't seem that great either, but who knows. Frost, casting Reapers. It's also going to be hard to understand this because I don't understand how New Frost is supposed to work. Casting Reaper's Might grants 1 stack of Exterminate, same thing as Blood, and Reaper's Might can stack up to, so same thing, exact same thing for Blood and Frost. And I know they mentioned in the thing that they would change it, but I guess you don't have to change it for all of them. But this does actually show some of my concerns, where if you don't give an individual touch to each spec, especially in between roles, like 2 roles, a tank and a DPS that share a hero talent, unless you really focus on those and differentiate them, it's going to really suck for one of them. And I like, when I read this, it sounds like they made this for Frost and then just slammed it on Blood. But like, tank tier bonuses have to be so much better than this. I don't know. There's just a thought. And then Rider of the Apocalypse. Pillar of Frost now summons one of the Riders for 10 seconds. His shit does more damage. 2 set. Okay. Casting a Blit or Frost Scythe orders Trollbane to cast his Oblit or Frost Scythe along with 100% effectiveness. Your Oblit deals 20% increased damage to target affected by this. That seems kind of cool. Totally depends on tuning. Okay, Unholy Rider. Now, Apocalypse now summons this guy. And I'm assuming the 2 and 4 set is just going to be casting things makes this guy do their thing. Yep, same thing. Totally depends on power level. Set bonus, Infliction of Sorrow, extends your duration of disease by an additional 3 seconds. Additionally, by your mastery, same thing as Blood. And Blood Beast, same thing. Melee attack power of your ghoul by 5% for 6 seconds. Multiple applications overlap. Okay, cool. Havoc. Oh, there's another element to this too that I find kind of interesting. Like, you've always been locked into your tier set as any specific spec. Let's say you're like just a Havoc DH player. There's a ton of those actually. They love anime, from what I can tell. If you are this person, you're kind of hoping that your class at least hits like 1 good tier set, right? But now, like, because they're by hero talent, I don't know if this is actually the right way to think about this, but you kind of just have like double the chance of getting at least one of your like, if you're someone that doesn't specifically want to play 1 hero talent, you just want to play your class and you want your class to own, don't you have like a higher chance of your class being good because you have, you know, double the chance of not getting fucked on your tier? Because only one of them has to hit, in a way. Reaver's glaive damage increased by 60% and other physical only damage increased by 30. Okay. Fury of the Eldrachi further empowers Blade Dance when cast after Chaos Strike, increasing slashes to 12. Oh boy. Oh boy. Reaver's Mark now stacks up to 3 times and further empowers Chaos Strike when cast after Blade Dance, applying an additional stack for 100% of normal duration. Bro, what is that even going to look like? Are you just going to... Actually, you guys might be happy about this. Does this not... Can you imagine like 3 Havoc DH being on top of the boss and each of them being in Blade Dance animation for like 3 seconds? That's going to be impossible to see. That's going to be visual crazy shit. Unless they thought about that already. Felsguard. Immel Aura deals 30% increased damage and increased Chaos Strike damage by 30% while active. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Like a little burn window. Entering demon form now immediately induces a demon surge and shatters a demon soul fragment that grants 20% increased damage for 10 seconds. That's kind of more boring, but I kind of like that. I actually really like the idea of Immel Aura being being like a window. That's kind of it's at least interesting. Vengeance looks like... See, this is like... Okay, this is 2 tanks in a row where... I don't know about this. Maybe all of them aren't like defensively really strong, but like if you were to look at what are strong tank defensives, or strong tank tier set defensively, historically, these are just like, your class isn't going to be good for this season. If any of the other tanks hit, these just seem like not awesome. Could be wrong though. I'm not super up to date currently on but this seems like it's just increasing their dam. Like if you get a tier set as a tank that's just increasing your damage and another one actually hits a regularly strong tank tier set, your class is cooked. Unless you're super overtuned. Okay, Druid. Starfire damage increased by 25%, gaining astral power with Starfire. Has a 50% chance to launch a Star Surge at your target at 50% effectiveness. That's kind of cool. I don't know if that's good, but that's cool. On impact, Star Surges launched by Starfire split up to 3 additional targets at 80% effectiveness and grant a stack of Gathering Moonlight. Casting Fury of a Loon or Full Moon consumes this to increase your damage by 5% per stack for 12 seconds. Yo, this is sick, right? Bro, this is fucking insane. I don't know if it's good because like numbers and stuff, but this is absolutely this is a fucking cook. Holy fuck, this is a cook. That's so smart. It does not consume Touch the Stars or Star Weaver procs. Okay. God damn. Keeper of the Grove. Casting Celestial Alignment calls upon the assistance of a Dryad for 10 seconds that casts Star Surge at 10% 70% effectiveness and Starfall at 100% effectiveness. Okay, so big CD2 set. When your Dryad fades, your next 2 Star Surges damage for an additional amount equal to 5% of your damage done while it was active. Okay, so it's like a little burn window. Okay, and splash 100% of their damage onto nearby enemies. Yo! Okay. I don't know if either of them are numbers-wise cool, but they both seem designed very, very cool. Dude, given Moonkin's a little... Dude, damage window is sick. Oh, man, Moonkins are going to be fucking dead again. You remember the last time they had to, like, fully focus their damage window? Did you guys raid with any Venthyr Moonkins back in Sanctum of Domination, bro? They were actually always dead. God damn it. At least it's not for 30 seconds. Okay. Guardian Druid. Ravage increases your haste by 10%. Chance to critically strike by 10, and the damage of your bleeds by 30% for 5 seconds. That's a lot of stats. Okay. Ravage has a 40% chance to make you ravage your target again 4 seconds later at 60% effectiveness. But I'm assuming that is, like, that will also proc this. Kind of RNG, though. 2 set for Loon's Chosen. Thrash damage increased by 20%. Thrash has a 40% chance to launch a Star Surge at your target at 65% effectiveness. Does Star Surge hit hard as a Guardian? I mean, I guess they could just tune it. Casting, okay, upon impact, Star Surge is launched by Thrash, split up into 3 additional targets, same thing, and gain a stack of Gathering Moonlight. Casting Lunar Beam does this and increases your damage per stack by 12 seconds. Okay. Cool. Feral. Same thing for these two, except they have Bloodseeker Vines. The rate at which Bloodseeker Vines grows by 40%. Tiger's Fury causes this. Has a chance each stack on this. All right, cool. I don't know. I don't care about Feral, honestly. Resto. Casting their big heal, or their big cooldown, calls upon the assistance of a Dryad for 5 seconds that casts Tranquility at 50% effectiveness and instantly regrows your lowest health ally at 200% effectiveness. Okay, on both of these CDs. When your Dryad fades, your next 2 Swiftmens heal for an additional amount equal to 5% of your healing done while it was active and splash 25% of their healing on a nearby allies reduced beyond 5 targets. That sounds... I don't even understand healing, really, but that sounds really cool, like having a little window. But Resto Druids are already like a ramp burst healer anyway, so you're just making that have like an extra little burst heal at the end, in a way. Also, Trank isn't like an awesome ability to begin with, but even half of a Trank isn't nothing, you know. Wild Stalker. The rate at which Symbiotic Blooms grows by 40%. Casting Regrowth or Clear Casting causes it to grow onto 2 nearby allies. And then these blooms have a 20% chance to trigger Bursting Growth every 2 seconds. Each stack of Symbiotic Blooms on an ally increases Bursting Growth healing taken by 30%. W. Evoker Augmentation. Chrono Warden. Set. After Temporal Burst fades, gain Temporal Cycle for 45 seconds. This increases haste, movement speed, and cooldown and recovery rate by 2%. Stacking additional time used in Essence ability stacks up to 15 times. What? On cooldown recovery rate by 30% for all of your abilities? And 30% haste? Am I reading that wrong? That sounds absolutely crazy, right? Okay. When temporal... Dude, it's only a 2 set, too. What the fuck? When Temporal Burst or Temporal Cycle is active, okay, Chrono Flame strikes 1 additional target and repeats 10% additional damage or healing up to a maximum based on spell power. Okay, 4-piece looks... That doesn't even seem real. That, like, if I'm reading this correctly, that sounds like the most broken 2-piece to ever exist. Anyways, Skill Commander. While deep breathing and for 10 seconds after, you command a squadron of 2 Drakthir who will attack your target with Pyre Azure Strike. 4-step bonus. While your squadron is active, your Mass Eruption strikes up to 2 additional targets. In addition, your squadron assists you for 5 additional seconds. Cool. Dev. Engulf stokes your inner flame, increasing your damage and healing over time by 40%. And increasing your chance to gain Essence Burst by 50% for 10 seconds. Stacks up to 2 times. Wait, your damage by 40% for 10 seconds stacks up to 2 times? Yo. That sounds insane. Consuming Essence Burst during Inner Flame fires an Essence Bomb at your target. Damaging nearby enemies or healing nearby allies reduced beyond 5 targets. Okay. Scale Commander. While deep breathing and for 10 seconds after, you command a squadron of 2 Drakthir. Yeah. But what does the Force do? While your squadron is active, Mass Disintegrate strikes up to 2 additional targets. In addition, your squadron assists you... Okay. So Mass Disintegrate hits 5 things. Now, in Raid, this is unlikely to be super, super good. Like, usually, Dev Evoker just cleaving 3 things is like money, right? You're so happy with that. Like, it'll be slightly better. In Mythic Plus, this seems like it's 7 beams. I mean, yeah, Mythic Plus, this is like crazy. Okay. Preservation. I still don't believe this 2-set. It just seems completely broken. Same thing with the 4-set. Flame Shaper. Engulf Soulseer Inner Flame, increasing your healing over time. Oh, only the hot version of it. Oh, same thing with the 2-set for Dev. It's only your dots by 80%. Still, 80% is a big number. So hots by 80% for Flame Shaper. It increases your chance to get Essence Burst by 50%, and then fires an Essence Bomb, healing allies, reduce beyond 5. Okay. Unused beams add to your single target too. Hunter. Black arrow damage increased by 10% and bleak powder damage increased by 20. Firing a black arrow reduces the cooldown of Call of the Wild by 2 seconds. I don't know exactly how that works. Is that Pog? Withering fires black arrow damage increased by 25%. Consuming a death blow has a 30% chance to call all black arrow barrages during your next withering fire to fire 1 additional black arrow. Okay. Pack leader pet damage increased by 5%. Okay. Decent. And beast damage increased by 15%. Summoning a beast grants 8% haste, mastery, or critical strike chance based on the beast summon for 8 seconds. All of that, that sounds sick and really strong for a 2-set. 4-set. Summoning a beast has a 25% chance to rouse nearby wildlife into a stampede. Charging your target and dealing heavy physical damage to your enemies over 3 seconds. Your chance to summon this is increased to 100% when you have lead from the front. I don't know how strong that is, but thematically they totally fucking hit here. Insane theme. And the 2-piece sounds crazy. I don't know how strong Stampede is, but whatever. MM, same thing, except it's death. Okay, yeah, same thing for MM. And then they have Sentinel. When Lunar Storm fades, I don't even know what that ability does. I'm skipping that. And then Survival, we've already read both of those except for the skip Sentinel. Interesting. Mage, Arcane Blast damage increased by 20%. Direct Splinter damage has a 50% chance to grant a stack of Arcane Harmony. Okay, damage from Arcane Orb has a 100% chance to grant a stack of this up to 5 times. All right, cool. Sun Fury. Spellfire Sphere, spell damage bonus by 1%. Phoenix has a 25% chance to cast an exceptional spell without consuming a Spellfire Sphere. Oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know if it's good, but it's cool. 4-set, when your Phoenix expires, it empowers you even further beyond, granting lesser time warp and increased 10% spell damage for 10 seconds. What is lesser time warp? Is that like a known thing? What does that mean? It's 15% haste for 10 seconds? Still pretty good. Frostfire bonus. Comet Storm, Ice Nova, and Frostfire Burst deal 10% increased damage and now apply Ignite at 150% effectiveness. Help me with numbers. Does that mean that they're going to apply Ignite 50% stronger, or is it 150% stronger? Because 100% effectiveness would just be Reggie. It's 50% better, right? Yeah. Casting Pyroblast has a 20% chance to also cast Glacial Spike at 100% effectiveness. Wait, that doesn't root. Additionally, Glacial Spike now benefits from Ignite. That's insane, right? That's like crazy insane. That's also fucking cool. That's like frostfirefantasy.com. That's insane. That's so cool. Okay. Frostfire bonus for Frostmage. Meteor, Frostfire Burst, and Frost, same thing. Wait, not really. Because it's introducing Ignite, right? So it has to be... Now deal 10% increased damage, and now apply Ignite, dealing 30% of the damage they deal over 9 seconds. Okay, so if just Frost Mage is just kind of getting Ignite. That is... Dude, the flavor here is... Mages stay eating, by the way. Casting Glacial Spike has a 100% chance to also fire a Pyroblast at 100% effectiveness. Additionally, Pyroblast now benefits from Ignite. I feel like... I'm only like halfway through the classes right now, and I feel like I've read more completely busted tier sets than I have ever read. There's also been some stinkers too. It seems like just purely, this could be kind of reactionary, but in their first look at like hero talent tier sets is there seems to be more completely broken ones than normal. Like they're hitting on a higher rate, which is a good thing because they have time to fix the bad ones, but some of them definitely super stink. Monk. Oh, I can't wait to see Windwalker. Okay. Brewmaster. Gaining Vitality has an increased chance to cause... What does gaining Vitality mean? Dealing nature damage split between your target and nearby enemies. Cool. Casting Selly Brew guarantees your next 2 casts of Tiger Palm will trigger a Harmonic Surge. I don't know what that means. Shadowpan. Flurry Strikes deal 30% more damage and activating weapons of order instantly grants 10 stacks of flurry strikes that will trigger on your next auto attack. At 100% effectiveness and flurry charge generation. Okay, cool. Can I just, is the Mistweaver one cool? I just want to get to Windwalker because I love it. Yeah, okay, I'm just skipping this. W Mistweavers though. Windwalker, Conduit of the Celestials, Heart of the Jade Serpent, additionally triggers for 8 seconds at 100% effectiveness when you cast Slice. Whoa! That's the thing that makes like your main shit have like their cooldown. It's like cooldown reduction, like hella cooldown reduction for. It also makes Fists cast faster, right? That's the part of Conduit that I'm remembering. Oh boy, that's gonna make your cooldown window fucking, because you want to cast Slice in your cooldown window just for big damn anyway, so you don't even have to think about it. And it's gonna be really nice outside of CDs too. That feels fucking great. All right, Heart of the Jade Serpent, which is the thing that it's granting you here really often, by the way. Even if you just completely ignore when you actually get Heart of the Jade Serpent, just from this alone, you're getting it at almost 30% uptime, just straight up, just from this alone. And obviously you get it other ways as well. That's crazy. Okay, so Heart of the Jade Serpent increases your haste by 15% while active and for 4 seconds afterwards. Oh my god. This is crazy. This might be the most broken one I've seen so far. Haste is like your best stat too. What the fuck? Dude, fuck, I was gonna play Bone this patch. Maybe not. Okay, Shadow Pan, boring ass shit. Flurry Strikes deals 30% more damage, and activating Storm, Earth, and Fire instantly grants 10 stacks of Flurry Strikes that trigger on your next attack of 100% effectiveness. Wait, does that mean you get Wisdom of the Wall or whatever the fuck it's called when you pop your CDs? Because that would be very strong. Flurry Charge Generation is increased to 100% and it triggers every 120 energy spent. Oh, you're going to have like permanent uptime of this during your cooldowns. Please, please, please do not make me play Shadow Pan. Like, I'm all for like variety and shit, but Conduit is just so much fucking better designed through and through that I hope that some fucking robot doesn't tell me that I do more damage by playing this boring ass shit. Cool tier set though, but I wish it was terrible. W. Okay, Paladin. Can someone just tell me if any of these that are ones I don't super care about are like really good, or else I'll just like kind of scroll by them. I don't know. Both Holy Pally ones are kind of good. Yeah, but I don't know what these buttons mean though. Well, I want to look at the tank one. Hammer and Anvil's damage is increased by 15. I don't even know how Lightsmith works. Holy fuck. Templar. Your Empyrean Hammer deals 20% increased crit damage and your critical strikes at 15% chance additional Light's Deliverance. And 4-set Hammer Light deals 30% increased damage, 5 range targets, starts 3 additional targets, and it can now be cast one more time after Eye of Tear. Again, purely like I mean, at least I don't know exactly what Light's Deliverance means, but like I think this is like purely damage for a tank. Bro, if any of the tanks actually hit defensively, I feel like they're just going to own Ret. Dawnlight's healing and damage increased by 30%. You gain Solar Wrath after Avenging Wrath fades, causing Sun's Avatar effect to linger for additional 10 seconds. That's good. It's a 5% DR. It's defensive too. Okay. Solar Wrath increased the effectiveness of your Holy Power spenders by 15% and grants you 2 Dawnlight. Okay. Templar. Your Empyrean Hammer deals 20% increased critical strike damage. And the critical strikes have 50% chance to grant additional stacks of Light's Deliverance. Hammer of Light deals 35% increased damage to its primary target. Yeah, being able to use it twice is insane. That seems fun. And it's going to feel way less bad, too, because you're no longer going to be playing, like, the hammer talent, right? Where you, like, are stressed for pressing shit all the time. And at least in PTR, it felt really bad to actually, to use this. Felt slow. It's going to do big damn. It won't upset your rotation too much. Oracle. 2-set for disc. The first bolt of each penance damages or heals for 200% more. Bro, that's real good, right? Casting Premonition of Piety, or Premonition of Solace grants 2 stacks of Premonition of Insight at 100% effectiveness. All right. I guess we're going to have to pull out a fucking... All right. Okay, cool. You made me pull out a fucking talent thing. Whatever. What does that mean? Okay. Casting Premonition of Piety or Solace. That is the healing done one, and your overhealing gets redistributed. And Solace, which is your next single target heal, gives a shield and reduces damage taken. If you cast either of those, it's going to grant 2 stacks of Premonition of Insight, which is reduces the cooldown of your next 3 spell casts by 7 seconds. So the next 6 spell casts get CDR by 7. Consuming a stack of insight increases your haste by 1% for 10 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. So you're going to have Iron Fur stacking haste next to spellcast, not 6. Okay. I don't know how disc works, but you guys are saying this is good. Cool. Void Blast and Penance damage increased by 40%. And Void Blast cast time is reduced by 20%. Void Blast cooldown is reduced by 50. Void Blast can now cause an Entropic Rift to grow. Collapsing Void increases Entropic Rift's damage by an additional 10%. The damage your next Mind Blast increased by 200% based on the size of the Entropic Rift when it collapses. Holy Arc. Oh, so you're saying specifically the Oracle 4 set means you're just going to get way more penances out, and also they're buffing the fuck out of penance. I just feel like you can feel that first penance when like your whole raid has atonement, and having the first part of their ramp, which I'm assuming how priest works is like you're penancing with a bunch of atonements out, and like that penance is doing a ton of the healing, I think, right? Penance really strong. So like that first hit of penance is just going to fucking pipe, dude. That's going to be great. Holy Archon. Halos reduce the cooldown of your Holy Word Serenity and Sanctify by 5 seconds. And Resonant Energy additionally increases the healing of your Holy Words by 5%. And while Power Surge is active, every 2 casts of Holy Word Serenity or Sanctify adds another Halo to the effect of 100% effectiveness up to 2 times. I don't know how Holy works. Prayer of Mending also heals your target. Oh, this is the spec that has multiple Halos, right? Like a Halo comes back and forth, so maybe this works twice. Casting Prayer of Mending also heals your target. What, so they're just putting an upfront heal on the person you cast Prayer of Mending on? Okay. Hopefully large. Casting Premonition of Piety or Solace grants 2 stacks of this. Same thing as Disc. Okay. But I'm assuming maybe also strong for Holy. Almost done here. Rogue. Shiv increases the effectiveness of all Deathstalker damage effects and damage bonuses by 50% while active. Ooh. I don't know about overall damage increase, but... Oh, no. Okay. I thought this meant Death Mark. But still, like, I think Deathstalker has a lot of damage effects, right? Like, shouldn't this be, like, it's a pretty big window? Anyways, Shiv has a 2% increased duration. I skipped Shadow. Oh, Stay Mad, by the way. I mean, it's basically the same thing as what we've already read, right? Except for Archon, I guess. Is it good? Stay Mad. I wish I did that on purpose. And an application of your active Deathstalker's mark when activated. Okay, Fatebound. Kingsbane deals 10% increased damage, has 4-second increased duration. Edge Case now flips an additional Fatebound coin. Dude, it's when you haven't looked at these trees in a while, just these words are just crazy. They're thrown out there. Having a lucky Fatebound coin reduces the cooldown of Deathmark by 30 seconds and Kingsbane by 15. Ooh, that sounds like a lot of potential CDR. Okay, Outlaw. Ghostly Strike deals 50% increased damage, 4% increased duration. Edge Case now flips an additional Fatebound coin, and activating this triggers its effect. Okay, same thing, CDR. Trickster. Unseen Blade deals 30% increased damage with a 30% chance to immediately refresh cooldown. Coup de Grace may now be activated a second time within 5 seconds. Fuck! I had a good bit going for a couple years where every single time this word came up, I announced it, or pronounced it, the obvious shitty way of like Coup de Grace or Coup de Grace. And I hit that in Blackrook Hold, and every time I read this, and I completely forgot and ruined the whole fucking bit just now. All good, though. So, double Coup de Grace. Symbols of Death increase the effectiveness of all Deathstalker. Same thing. Giga cooldown window. For sub, that probably works even better. And then same thing for this. Cool. Elemental. Ancestral Swiftness summons an empowered... What the fuck is Ancestral Swiftness again? Is that something specifically with... Dude, I know that word. Isn't that like the instacast? The insta-spellcast for Ellie and Resto? Or I think it's on the class tree, but like Enhanced doesn't care about it. It's NS. Yeah, okay. NS summons Grandpa for 15 seconds. That deals 3% increased damage and healing. Only depends if that one's strong. And Ancestral Swiftness reduces the cast time of your spells by 8%, mana cost of your spells by 8, and increases the recharge rate of Lava Burst by 16% for 8 seconds. This seems weak. It's like a 30-second CD. I don't know. It just doesn't read crazy. All right, Stormbringer. Ascendance has a 100% chance to grant a charge of Tempest, and every 6 Awakening Storms now activates Ascendance for 6 seconds. Oh. Nature damage increased by 5%, and Ascendance empowers your next 2 Tempests, causing it to gather a storm above, dealing nature damage to its primary target and reduce damage to nearby enemies after 1.5 seconds. That seems big. Totemic. After you consume all the Whirling Element motes, wow, I've never read that in my life, you cast Primordial Storm at 200% effectiveness at searching totem's location. After casting Primordial Storm, your next Lava Lash or Fire Nova is casting at 100% effectiveness. Seems fine. And then do they just repeat this for Enhance? Dude, this seems just crazy good. Ascendance is really strong. Does this? I mean, the 4 set totally depends on how much damage it does, but seems really good. Resto, same thing, kind of same. Well, a bit different for healer, but healer stuff. I don't know what Warlock words mean, so I would just be basically reading a bunch of things for no reason and not actually processing any of that information. Do any of these own? And then I'll just read those. Dude, like reading Warlock dev notes is like reading a different language. They're powerful but very boring. All right, W. That is actually just thank you. That's all I need to read. Wait, Diablo sounds cool as fuck. Okay, let's check. Let's check. Hand of Gul'dan cast at full power summons a demonic oculus. Bro, okay, up to 3. Consuming demonic art flings your demonic oculus at your current target, exploding for fire damage. And fire damage enemies in 10 yards. And then demonic oculi analyze the battle while active and deliver information used as they explode, increasing your int by 2% for 10 seconds, assuming stacking. Cool. So demonic octopus going crazy on it. Cool. I can't believe you made me read that. Arms. Demolish damage increased by 20% and crit strike damage. Your abilities increased by up to 20% on targets affected by your demolish for 10 seconds based on the number of colossal might consumed. Demolish damage increased by 20% and critical strike abilities increased on targets affected by your demolish for 10 seconds based on the number. This is insane, right? I don't know if you actually play this, but this seems insane. Big window. Demolish 4-piece increases your crit strike chance of your next 2 mortal strikes by 100%. Mortal strike critical strikes increase your rend and deep wounds damage by 100% for 8 seconds. I mean, that's like good AoE too. That seems great. That seems really, really, really good. Execute damage increased by 20% and executes from sudden death have a 10% chance per stack of overwhelmed on the target to trigger a Slayer strike. I don't know what that means. Overpowering damage increased by 20% or overpower damage and overpowers 2% chance per stack of overwhelmed on the target to trigger Reap the Storm. Again, it's like I'm reading Warlock Tooltip right now. Literally no idea what that means. The Colossus one seems really cool though. Fury Mountain Thane. Thunder Blast a 30% chance to call down 5 strikes on affected targets. They deal nature damage. And then Ionizing Strikes deal 50% more damage and have a 20% chance to grant a charge of Thunder. Okay, so like purely like number, but also you get like extra charges of Thunder Blast basically, but I just don't know how much damage that does. And Slayer, same thing, except sudden death instead of overpower, or Raging Blow, I mean. Cool. Prot, Demolish, same thing. Demolish increases the critical strike chance for next 2 shield slams. Again, just this is 0 defensiveness, right? I mean, I guess they were like kind of correct. Like it doesn't seem like, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't seem like any tank got a really strong defensive tier set. Is that correct? I kind of like glazed over all of them. Glazed? Is that the right way to say it? Grazed? Gazed? What word am I thinking of? Glaze is fine. Fuck it. Glaze it. Prot Warrior helps with the healing because of the rend damage. Glanced? Yeah, glanced. I meant glanced. I wish I did that on purpose, all of that just now, but I didn't. Glossed? Ooh, glossed could have been a lot of good G words there. In the same boring ass Thunder. Okay, so who wins? Okay, I'm biased, but I think Windwalker Monk's Conduit of the Celestials is absolutely crazy. Mage Frostfire seems crazy. Oracle Healer Priest seems crazy. Dev Evoker seems crazy. Enhance seems crazy. There's a lot of crazy ones. Warlock is really... Yeah, I don't understand Warlock, though. I only know English. I think we did it. I think we got through most of everything, right? Oh, no, I'm stretching. Now my dogs think I'm getting up. God damn it. God fucking damn it. No, sorry, Reptar. Come here, buddy. I didn't mean that. Don't talk to him, buddy. Come here. DH 3rd spec? Wait, what the fuck is that about? What the fuck are you talking about? Max, one of the bosses in the raid is weirdly stated to be optional, and it's a council of 3 demon hunters, 1 havoc, 1 vengeance, and 1 being a void guy. Some data mining of spells and some quest lines point to that boss teasing a 3rd DH spec. Yeah, I mean, that sounds... All of those things sound entirely credible. If there was ever going to be another spec added, I would assume it's to demon hunters who only have 2. And that sounds like the perfect way to do that. So it'll be like, what? It'll be like, they're not announcing it yet, but it'll be playable in like the 0.5 patch or something, just like AUG was. Do you think it will be a support spec? No. I imagine it's not going to be... I mean, we can probably tell from the... Are the boss abilities on PTR? Oh, shit, he knows? I don't know anything. I genuinely have no clue. I've never heard of this at all. You guys are telling me it's the first time? Let's look from the boss abilities. Yeah, I don't think... I really, really doubt they're going to do DH support. Like 99.9% sure that they aren't doing that and would never do that. Based off of seeing nothing so far, by the way. I just don't think that's the class fantasy. It just doesn't work. Fully ranged DH, I'm not sure, but also be interesting. I don't know. I mean, they could just do another melee spec. There's multiple melee in this game that have multiple melee specs. DK Rogue, right Warrior. So you don't... It could just be melee with like a totally different playstyle, you know? So let's look at the boss. What's the boss called? Also, an optional boss is very... The idea of that's very interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there's 8. Okay, you guys said before that there's 7 bosses with an optional 8th, but I mean, there's just not, right? Because, like, like, at least for the Race to World first, it's going to be whoever kills all 8 first. 8 out of 8 mythic, right? It doesn't matter what order you do them in or whatever. It's just, right, like, finishing the raid is finishing the raid. But you only need 7 for the Hall of Fame. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just saying, like, for the race, that's not how that would work, right? At least I don't think so. I could be wrong. Like, I think people in the... I guess... like, would it be whoever kills the last boss first or whoever kills all 8? I mean, it has to be whoever kills all 8, right? The order was optional last raid, too. Just had to kill them all. Some people are saying you don't have to kill this one. Have they ever had... Has this ever... I guess this is... Is this unprecedented? Like... Have they ever done this before? Has there ever been an optional boss within the cutting edge? You guys are saying Butcher. Like, that's the last Race to World first where someone killed the last boss before they killed Butcher, Paragon. But to get whatever version of cutting edge existed then, you needed to kill Butcher and the last boss. You could just kill the last boss before that. Right now is what people are here. Cutting edge. Is it in the... Where is the... What's the name of this guy? Not on here. Lei Shen into Raden. Raden was Raden was the end of the race, not Lei Shen. Imperator's Fall, you passed it. Oh, isn't that Heimal? Imperator Margok? I'm looking for the current raid's cutting edge. Is it not implemented yet? You guys are saying that it's a feat of strength, you can't search it. Okay, it's just been data mined. Look for Dementius. Okay. Mythic Dementius, the All-Devouring. Yeah, but that's not gonna... I mean, I guess I could just look at the War Within raid. Oh, see, there's like Mythic Nerebar Palace. Defeat the following bosses on Mythic difficulty. I'm just trying to find the... Is there one on here for like clear... Okay, so I mean like Mana Forge Omega. Oh, on any difficulty, okay. Cutting Edge is always only the last boss. Data Mine one is a placeholder, but only 7. I mean, that's really interesting. Like... I think the best way for them to do that is like, okay, if for the race, all that matters is getting cutting edge, so killing the last boss, that's winning the Race to World first. But skipping a boss seems really anticlimactic. Like, what if it's really fucking hard, right? I think you'd want to do it, right? Like, maybe is there a cool world where like the boss is optional on Mythic and drops insane loot, but is like impossibly hard? Like, it's supposed to be like a goal after you kill the end boss or something, like an aspirational goal. Ah, that's so interesting. I wonder what their design process is for this. This is unfortunate. They asked recently if like any WoW creators wanted to do an interview, and I just like didn't respond. But I would love to do an interview right now and ask them exactly what they intend with that. Max, it's a council fight though. Hard council would be so cringe. What? Council fights can be awesome. I don't agree with that at all. Okay. Max, the boss isn't optional. The boss drops boots that buff the cloak effects by 50%. Yeah, the boots are super OP, but like, you might not need that to kill the last boss. I actually am really interested in how the fuck that works. Wait, it drops tier? Dude, I don't understand the option. Bro, I'm just gonna... this is... My guess is that all of this is made up, and that this is just a fucking boss in the raid. It's not even optional. Maybe you can get to the last boss without killing it, but like, it'll end up being included... Bro, there ain't no way a fucking optional boss drops tier. That doesn't even make sense. It says on their announcement it is. Alright. I need to read this shit. Blizzard has said it's optional to reach the last boss. Yeah, but like, so was Butcher, but you needed to kill Butcher to win the race. And you needed to kill Butcher to get the Heimal Mythic achievement. You know what I mean? They just need to clarify. I'm very, very confused. Maybe my guild has already figured this out, because I imagine they've thought about all this as well, but I just have been gone for 2 days. And then immediately came home and streamed. So I just don't know. Some tinfoil from the DH Discord is that it actually takes a demon hunter to summon the boss, which is why it's optional. Oh, because like all groups may not have access to that, like especially in normal and heroic. So you would need to get it. That's the demon hunter raid buff, bro. Besides the fact that they already have a really good one, it's just that if you don't have one in your raid, just a boss doesn't spawn. I mean, that would kind of make sense. I can see it. Okay, let's look at the abilities, yeah? So we have Havoc guy. We have Vengeance guy. Okay, let's look at guy who is not either of those things. So the potential new spec. And hurls orbs of ravenous void at several locations, inflicting damage. Focuses upon players intercepted these orbs, continually sailing them. Okay, well that doesn't quite... So hurling orbs that do damage, okay. Drains an essence, so think of like a void torrent maybe. It's also giving you an absorb. Void step, a little blink. Like a blink instead of a fell rush. That would be really good. Scythe wielding shadow that dashes behind players. Look at the model more importantly. Is it a Darius that we're looking at? What is the weapon of a Darius? I mean, a Warglaive, right? But like, I'm thinking it's just another melee spec. They would never make a DH support. And I doubt it's a DH range. I bet it's just like another take on Havoc-y, Void, Shadowy stuff, but just a melee. Cool. That's awesome, man. I wonder how they're going to I wonder if they're going to release the spec in whatever 0.5, but wouldn't it be kind of hype if the first time this boss is killed on Mythic, they just shadow drop the spec that day? Just like login, just like a login angle. They did that with the last couple legendaries. That'd be a very interesting move though. Wow, that's really interesting. I'm so interested in how this is going to play out. Broken on release, everyone reroll. Yeah, kind of a hot take, but I hope it is. Like, can you imagine the alternative? Brand new spec that everyone's hyped about comes out and it fucking stinks. That, in my opinion, that is a significantly worse alternative than brand new thing comes out and it owns. I feel like it kind of should own. AUG 2.0? Yeah, but AUG came with a lot of other baggage. Like, it didn't have just the, like, oh, this thing's OP hate. It was also, like, all of the PI hate for years bottled up into, like, they made an entire spec of this now. The hate was definitely... There's a new role in the game. There was so much more going on than just new DPS spec. New DPS specs are randomly broken every patch. That happens all the time. That'd be fine. What if this new DH spec is also support? It won't be. Wow, that's kind of fucking sick. I'm glad they're doing that. Okay, what else is there to see on PTR? I'm not going to, like, deep dive the bosses right now. They've already said they aren't going to make another support spec. I don't think they said that. Loot? Yeah, I'll just... Tell me what to look out for. All the crazy shit. Any crazy trinkets? I know the boots are good off of Soul Hunters. Let's look at end boss trinkets. Okay. 2 trinkets and no very rare. There's no very rare on the last boss right now. Crit trinket. Your harmful spells and abilities have a chance to strike your target with an abyssal comet, dealing 600k cosmic damage and amplifying their gravity to increase the damage of future comets by 5%. Okay, so it's like ramping, but like flavor as fuck. It's called Screams of a Forgotten Sky. Holy fucking epic name. Jesus. Upon death, enemies implode to deal damage per gravity stack split between nearby enemies. Damage increased by 30% per additional enemy up to 150. This sounds like it's probably... That last part might save it in Mythic Plus, but this sounds like just like a raid-only ramp trinket. Think kind of like... like that one everyone uses right now off the last boss in raid that ramps up over time. Like that, it's kind of like that vibe. Which trinkets like that are cool. All Devouring Nucleus. Verse as the secondary. Hoping this is a tank trinket because that would stink for anyone else. Taking damage has a high chance to cause you to devour the essence of nearby enemies, dealing... Yeah, this is definitely a tank trinket. Dealing shadow damage split between them and healing you for 150% of the damage dealt. Fatal damage not exceeding... Okay, it's just a cheat death, right? But how does it work? Restores you to 10% health and reconstitutes you as an unstable void for 6 seconds. Exceed 75% health to stabilize and avoid death. Okay, so it's purgatory, but longer. This effect may occur once per 8 minutes. The heart is unable to deal damage while recharging. Oh, so like when you proc your cheat, this no longer does damage for the duration. Wow, that's pretty punishing. But cheat deaths are unbelievably OP, and this will definitely be used. If it does enough damage, you could put... I mean, honestly, cheat death trinkets are like... One change I would make right now is I would just make this only work for tank specs. Because while it is kind of fun to cook and be like, let's get a bunch of these on our DPS players, and when we're learning new fights, we put this on just to like see farther and stuff. I I just think that's clunky, and I wish that option didn't exist, because you can also like super break stuff with it, and it's just not like organic gameplay. That seems kind of sketchy. Actually, this seems like really fucking good. I please make this only work for tanks. Fourth boss trinket. Okay. Crit trinket. Recklessly feed a portion of your essence to the forge, granting you a large amount of strength, decaying over 30 seconds at the cost of 15% of your maximum health. Oh, that's fun. That's cool. Wow, this is so interesting. This is like a fucking absolutely insane Race to World First trinket that could be just such a massive grief for... Because, like, okay, when a lot of people are killing bosses weeks later, you just simply, like, the check isn't as hard. There are way less pass-fail, like, damage requirements. And it's way more about just, like, being consistent and seeing progression for everyone in your group. To where increasing the amount of deaths is not something you want to do. But, like, in the race, is it strength only? Because it's crit passive, I bet this works for everyone in the game. I bet I could check right now. Let's see. Mage. Yeah, Mage can equip it and strength. So this is going to work for every single thing. Yeah, so... Okay, that's pretty fascinating. Like, in the race, though, you have a bunch of pulls and you have the best players in the world, so you can just assume, like, you can outplay dying with 15% reduced health. But if the benefit of this is, like, so much better than other trinkets, especially for specific classes that have, like, you know, obviously really strong 2 minutes, which is, like, a ton of classes, you just need enough damage to even possibly... You can always solve living, but you can't out-solve, like, a trinket that's just going to do way more damage than something else. So this would absolutely be used at the Race to World First level. It might be a little frustrating, especially on bosses that only take 30 pulls, but on bosses that are like 100 pulls plus, this is, if it's truly tuned to where, like, way better than other trinkets, you will see this used massively, and you will probably see other guilds copy that. And I bet as weeks and weeks go on, there will be a scenario where this is absolutely not the best trinket for you and your guild to play as far as killing bosses quickly, but people will obviously do it anyway because doing big damage is fun. And also, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, but it is interesting. It's like the Sark cloak on crack, you know? Isn't this just Sark cloak again? I thought losing health... Yeah, it is. It's Sark cloak on crack. Well, Sark cloak was like something like you lost 8% of your health for the whole fight to gain almost no damage. So it was like, the Sark Cloak was an egregious, like, you should not be using this item if you care about the progression of, or if you care about you or your friends. You just shouldn't use this thing. But this is only 15% with 25% uptime if you use it on cooldown. So, like, the Sark Cloak is way more dangerous than this. The Sark Cloak, you just should have never, ever equipped that. But this is, you know, again, it totally depends. If this is like, even in the race, if this is just barely better than another trinket, you will not see us playing. Like, bro, if this is like simming, like, barely better than another trinket that one of our players actually has, and they're choosing to have a 15% HP loss, and they die with this thing up, and they wouldn't have died if they didn't have that 15% health debuff, we're gonna change that real fast. That's just a bad decision. But the reality is that's a 15% health reduction is a massive penalty. So if this trinket is designed well, I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked at sims, and that seems like a lot of main stat, but I don't actually know, like, next patch exactly what a large amount of main stat will look like. But just based on how this works on a 2-minute cooldown especially, like, this is going to be good for someone, and it's likely going to be very good if they tune it correctly, which is it being very high because of the large penalty. There will be scenarios where we use this for sure. Wait. Oh my god. Am I misreading this? Does it only do 15% of your max health? Like, it does 15% of your max health instantly, and then you can just heal? And then you're chilling? I might have just monologued for absolutely no reason. That does go hard, though. That is pure content creation right there. That's goat shit. But go buy it from the vendor? No. But I am now convincing myself that is what this means. I mean, it wasn't too crazy to predict that it could have been what I thought it was, though, because the Sark Cloak literally existed, right? And this would have been less punishing than that. So Okay, I mean, that's sick. I mean, you can find a time to do 15% of your max health, and I mean, that's way less punishing. Killing yourself with it would be pretty funny. Also, using this when you're about to die would be a pretty, if any of our players did that, that would, and they were not, it was not at the end of the night and they were very exhausted, that alarm sirens would be going off. Cool. Also great for healers, dude. Can you imagine if you have a bunch of these in your raid and healers get used to on the pole, like lining up some pre-healing so they can snipe that little fucking 15% of the whole raid's health going away? 6th boss has an int trinket with 2 set. Okay. Okay, so a trinket that looks like multiple weapons that can be paired with it. Your spells have a chance to empower the Voidcore, granting you main stat for 15 seconds. This chance is increased by 25% while below 50% mana. Oh. Is this only for casters? It is. It is only for casters. Well, you said int, so I guess I should have trusted you. Okay, so only for casters. Granting this gives you 50% int, and the chance is increased by 25% while below 50% mana. Multiple applications may overlap. I mean, how many casters even go below 50% mana? It's like healers and arcane mages, / maybe some poorly designed range specs where their buttons just remove their mana for some reason. Yeah, actually, dude, if you're a caster that just doesn't yourself, you're just mad, right? Yeah, imagine people having to spam their mana to 0 pre-pull. That sounds really... Yeah, they should probably look at that. I mean, the only way that this makes sense is it's specifically designed for healers, right? But it looks like it's probably just going to be the best passive int trinket. Interesting. It seems like some of these... I've only read a few of these so far, but it seems like the gear in this raid is, like, extra crazy. This stuff just looks, like, really, really powerful. But, I mean, it's the end of the expansion, right? Go crazy on it. I'm down. Let's look at the very rare items. Okay, so second to last boss, we have an only crit, strength agi 2-hand mace, empower the maw singularity, collecting loot from corpses in 40 yards and crushing them into void dust. Holy fucking theme. Jesus, what does this look like too? Yo, that's sick. Okay, that's so sick. Okay, it's just a cool ability. It's not a power or anything. Yeah, what it is an extremely high item level, what will be. It doesn't look like the item level has been, like, the eye level, everything's myth 1 out of 6, which isn't, like, how loot works in this game. So second to last boss and very rare, you're going to be getting, like, an absolutely crazy fucking item. Like, this thing is going to do insane, especially if you like crit. Cool. Okay, let's look at other very rares. I'm interested in that. So only a very rare... Okay, obviously the boots off of Soul Hunters. Wow, wait. There's only one very rare item in the entire raid, except for the, like, optional. I still want to understand the optional thing, but that's I wonder if they changed their philosophy on very rare. That's so interesting because, like, obviously it's changed so much. Came out in Vault of the Incarnates. The items were so insane, so they made very rare both more attainable and they nerfed all the items that were very rare the next season. And then it's kind of gone up and down a little bit, but then last season they kind of did proper, what you'd consider theoretically proper MMO loot design, which is like the harder the bosses get, the better and more rare the loot gets. So like the very rare items were really fucking good off of the end bosses, as opposed to like Vault of the Incarnates. You just like kill the first 2 bosses and you get sick loot. But like there's a line of thinking where it's like if you're a developer in a video game, you're like, okay, I want to... How should I have my gear? Should the best gear drop off of the stuff that is the hardest to get to and the hardest bosses? Like, okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? Well, they did that. But then there was a lot of friction, right? Specifically for Mythic Plus players when they actually, like, kind of did that correctly. And now what they did is there's only... Maybe this isn't complete. The journal doesn't look super complete. It looks better than usual. Like, stuff looks more complete than normal when a PTR comes out. But... like the item levels are all myth 1 out of 6, which is not how loot works unless they change that. They would probably post about that though. And they only have one very rare item outside of the boots, and it's off the second to last boss, and it doesn't do anything. It's just going to be high level because it's very rare. It looks sick. So I wonder if their very rare philosophy has actually changed. Again, max boots are bonus loot. They're not very rare. Oh, important distinction. You're right. It does clarify very rare right here, and it mentions bonus loot. It's going to drop, like, just personal loot to you. It's not lootable by the loot master or anything. I wonder if these are going to be, like, hella rare. Like Amenthul's type shit from Legion. Look at the final boss mount. Oh, shit. All right, well, at least our sales will be good at the end of the expansion. That thing looks absolutely crazy. That looks pretty cool. The optional boss thing is so odd. Like, who isn't going to do it? I'm telling you right now, the whole premise of this optional boss thing needs to be explained, and there's a lot of speculating going on, but no one has any idea what the fuck they're talking about, because like it's so weird. Like, there's a level of optional to where like people consider Butcher optional, but it wasn't, right? Like, it was part of the achievement for the raid, but the whole like there's only 7 data mined bosses that are for the mythic achievement, and like but like if it was an extra boss, would it just be in the middle of the dungeon journal like it's the 5th ass boss, you know? I'm telling you, there's something. I'm starting to buy that theory from the DH Discord that the reason it says optional is because you literally need a Demon Hunter to summon it, because it's a Demon Hunter boss, and they're potentially unveiling like the 3rd spec of DH as some lore shit, like literally for normal raids and stuff. I don't know. All I'm saying is we're all speculating right now. If anyone's pretty sure they know how this works, you're full of shit. Blizzard needs to like directly clarify what the fuck they're talking about, or if it's really cool, maybe don't and let it happen natty. I don't know. So is it optional for the race? I think speculating on that makes no sense because we just don't know. However, it is like, I mean, if it's truly optional, like getting cutting edge, getting the last boss, because like, okay, this exact scenario, cutting edge is the only thing that matters. Like, Paragon in Highmaul killed Imperator Margok before they killed the Butcher. How many bosses are in this raid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They killed the last boss as their 6th mythic boss, and then they went back and killed the Butcher after for World First. But they didn't get World First until the Butcher died. Does that make sense? Like, you kill all the bosses in the raid to get World First, or at least that's what it was back then. That's the only thing you can even kind of remotely compare to this. Throne of Thunder is not the same. Also, that was before that. Right? Where you could get to the last boss without killing every other boss. Because pretty rare that you can even get to the last boss without killing every boss in the raid. So if they're intentionally designing that way, which we kind of don't know, we have some weird, shoddy, like, optional verbiage from them that I just don't know if you could actually glean anything from that. So I assume if it was like that, let's just say the boss, you can get to the last boss without going to the Shadowhunter thing. And okay, I'm really starting to believe the DH tinfoil. Because like, why would they randomly do that out of nowhere? For novelty, because they did it once with Butcher? Like, no, there has to be a reason, right? Like, I'm really buying the DH theory where you need a Demon Hunter to summon the boss. And it is just possible and happens all the time where people form normal and heroic raids without a Demon Hunter in it. And like, you literally can't pull the boss without a Demon Hunter to summon it because of some lore shit. And they need to make it optional to get to the last boss, because on normal and heroic, you could just simply like not have one of those in your raid, and if you needed that boss to get to the last boss, you would just be fucked. You could try to get one from the group finder, but you might just be fucked, and they don't want that situation, right? They don't want you to have to raid with some random if you raid with a 10-man in normal just to summon a boss to do the last boss. So that's my going theory. That's the thing that logically adds up for me. Max pretending he doesn't already know what the new spec is already. I have no idea. Genuinely, I don't know. But also, if I did know, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I also wouldn't like constantly bring it up. If I actually knew I couldn't talk about it due to some NDA or whatever, like I just would avoid talking about it. I wouldn't continually tell you I don't know. I don't know. It's just like weird. I'm just like lying to you. Yeah, there's so many things that make it not seem like a purely optional boss. The fact that the boss drops just one of the regular tier pieces, I'm not buying it. I am ready to put money on it is not optional in like the mythic sense at all. It's purely because you need a Demon Hunter to summon the boss, and they need you to still get to the end boss in case you don't have one. But like for all like regular ass mythic groups, which all have a Demon Hunter unless you're crazy, you're gonna kill that boss. It's gonna be part of the mythic achievement, and it's gonna be a part of the race world first. Also, imagine creating a boss and it's just not part of the race. That just sounds super corny. I don't even know if that was the case. I feel like we would have to talk as race to world first guilds and be like, all the guilds that could realistically win, just be like, you can kill the boss in any order you want, but winning the race to world first is killing all 8 bosses, not 7. That would be the only non-stupid thing to do. Unless the boss was like literally impossible or something, but then like, I don't know, that's a Blizzard thing. Is it confirmed you need a DH to summon it? No, nothing's confirmed. I'm kind of just yapping. All right. I think that's it for me today, boys. That's enough yapping. I gotta go record a podcast with the men.